All right, everyone. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us this Thursday evening. Yeah, evening's the right word, right? Thursday night, same thing. I don't know. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for being here for episode. I want to say 37. No, 38. 38 of Song of Rapture. And I want to give a big shout out to Total Party Chill. Thanks so much for subscribing, and thank you so much for the host. I appreciate it. Your support helps us keep this going, and I throw that right back into the channel, into more D&D products to help everything flow smoothly. So thanks for your support in that endeavor. Let me see here. And we'll go ahead and get this started for y'all. Let's see here. Now I'll get the bot started up here in a second, but without further ado, Monsieur Omen.
Sure.
It's all yours.
First of all, I just want to say, is there any midweek announcements? I know we've had a break from Kingdoms of the South for a while, so our games have been split between Sunday and Thursday. So is there anything going on with anyone? Looks like tonight we are missing a John who's still away on his trip. And currently we're waiting for our good friend Peter. He may or may not show up tonight, but in the meantime, his character Javen will be played by our one and only Nick. But is there anything you guys want to talk about? Anything coming up? Anything new in your lives? Or should we just get back into the horror?
I feel like I'm on Stroma. Everything is cold and dead and snows everywhere.
There you go.
Yeah, I have a sinus cold, so I feel like I'm actually playing Samantha, and I hate it.
I actually feel better this week.
Yeah, of course you feel better. You gave me your fucking sickness. Evil.
That's how the curse works. You gotta pass it on to the next.
Yeah, exactly. It's how it works.
Mm-hmm. And a curse it is, one that mimics the appearance of an illness, even acts like one. But speaking of illnesses, I have a question for you lot, one I ask every week and one I always love to hear the answers for. Can someone tell me what happened on a last haunted and somewhat bloody episode of Song of Rapture?
Me, if you're okay with rolling another d10, because I still have inspiration.
Well, the question then becomes, third week in a row, Persephone, I have to hold it above your head for a second. Is there anyone else who would want it?
I could do it, but it seems like Percy's pretty gung-ho.
She's just farming fucking die rolls is what she's doing. She's cheating.
I don't want to, I mean...
I don't mean to do it.
No, it's perfectly fine. If you, okay? And no one objects, alright, then Persephone...
I'd give you a shitty one.
I'll go with Persephone then.
There were some things and some stuff. Iron out.
Can you tell me what happened last time on a Song of Rapture?
Well, previously on the Song of Rapture, we started out on the boat, knowing that we were just a couple miles, half a mile away from Stroma, really depending on where we were. We couldn't tell. It was foggy and there was ice everywhere. So our first plan of action was, how do we get to the island from the lake with it surrounded by ice? When magic wasn't the answer, we decided we were going to just anchor the boat in the middle of the Heart Basin, just about half a mile, a couple miles away from the shore. And
Hold on. Looks like Discord's crapping out on us. Give us 1 second.
Exploded.
Appreciate your patience, guys. Just dealing with some technical difficulties here. We'll get that sorted out for you in no time flat.
Are we good?
Is everyone alive? We didn't die?
Sorry
We're
about
good?
that. Technical issues.
Back.
Discord tried to eat us.
Alright, so back to it. We decided that since magic wasn't the answer to our problems this time, we were going to just skid across the ice and hopefully make it to the shore of the island of Stroma. Thankfully, we made it. We didn't have any problems necessarily. and we came up with a plan of what we were going to do now that we were on the island. Luna shared a riddle in her little magical book that gave her answers to some of her questions, but those answers, again, only in riddles. So we're still not entirely sure what the cause of Greybite actually is. Persephone reminded them that the story she was told from Locasta involved the mountains, where everything had originated. A girl went missing, and then there was Greybite. So the plan was we were going to go west to the river and then follow the river up north, which went into the mountains. So we started trekking through this very dead island. No sign of life in sight, except for a corpse clinging to a tree, but even then it was nothing. It was just a husk of its former self that only responded to the heat of this giant ball of flaming twigs that Gregory had put together to keep all of us warm. Luna, with her really high perception, had managed to catch the body of something with pointed ears fiddling about. And when we tried to approach, he ducked behind some carts. And as we were looking around for him, it looked like a giant corpse, not a giant corpse, but a corpse just leapt up and almost tried to bite Gregory. To which Samantha reacted very swiftly with an Eldritch Blast to his face. That's when we realized this wasn't a corpse. This was a person, an elf, a very alive elf. And the Eldritch Blast attracted some enemies. Some of which that we had seen before, like really long tongue, and was the reason that Samantha had almost died. But then there were two more. One was like a dog that we were familiar with, just no hair and very dead. And then another one that had a more humanoid-like body, but moved animalistically and was terrifying and creepy. So we spent a little bit fighting those off. But in all of that, one got away, and Persephone got bit. And while the elf in the cart, who we now know is Peleus, tried to sound like that Persephone was gonna die, Gregory made sure that wasn't gonna happen. And she seems to be feeling fine now. Peleus, we found out, is the lone survivor of Greybite, or as everyone in his village called it, Sinkan, on the island of Stroma. And the only way he survived? Being a coward. Hiding while his friends and neighbors died to this disease all around him in essentially the zombie apocalypse. But we did find out some other information about him. We found out there's a safe place that we can stay, which is the village Pelkoa, his home village on Stroma, which Locasta is also from, who we also knew. And in the history of Stroma, it had been used during the era of the Ancients. The elves went into the mountains trying to find a way to fight off dragons. So if there's any dark magic involved that started the Greybite, it's probably over there. But before we can ask any more questions, we had just arrived into the village of Pelkoa, surrounded by more dead bodies. But similar to everything else on the island, it was just dead, docile, not really seeming to attack us. So many more questions. Hopefully we'll have them answered tonight on Song of Rapture.
All right, well done, Persephone. Assuming you already have your DM inspiration, not really assuming, I guess you already told me. Can you give me a D10 roll? Oh, you had that ready to go.
I'm going to try to use it tonight, I promise. I'm not trying to hoard it on purpose.
No, it's okay. 1 second. As indeed, we return to our Valiant Seven, now stumbling into this frozen village of Pelkoa, where they're met by a very strange and unsettling sight. Though this quiet, melancholy, and cowardly man steps forward, seemingly bravely, into this abandoned village, standing all around him, some in the streets, but many of which locked behind these fragile-looking gates of wood and other simple craft, are corpses shambling on their feet and leaning into the structures, some of them not even fully aware of their surroundings. As you've entered the dead village of Pelkoa, again, the strong wind blows, giving this place sort of this cold, haunted atmosphere. It's, even with your cloaks on, it's still hard to find any sort of warmth from within you. Basically every step is a shiver. As Peleus leads the way up north through part of this village, it seems like the deeper he goes towards the center, now that you can sort of get a better scope coming down from the upper hill, it looks like it's centered by this large hall, a long stretched building marked with bones at the front. It looks like the prey of some old hunt long forgotten. And the closer we get to the center, the more controlled these undead appear to be, as there aren't shambling or leaning up against buildings or frozen, stuck to posts. They seem to just be almost like cattle, herded behind fences and just sort of minding their own business, only reacting with twitches and maybe a low growl at the sound of frosted snow crunching beneath your feet. I know it's not much, but it's home. As every step, Peleus just pulls up.
Is it safe? Oh.
Persephone just takes a look around at things and watches Peleus go forward. I think so. If he's been here for a while, it's gotta be
Stroma
safe.
is safe. Everything wants to kill you. But here, there is some sort of safety. Oh dear. One of them got out again.
What do you do when they get out?
You just bring them back inside. Crunch, crunch, crunch.
Were they always like this? Or did they become like this as time went on? Because the ones that we came across on Movia, they all just attack.
When a creature succumbs to Sin Khan, it changes before it ever truly dies. But some who are merely exposed, a soft bite, or perhaps they end their own lives before they're taken, they do not fully change. They fall. Crunch, crunch. But that remnant of evil inside them that makes them hunger, it remains like a little candlelight, softly burning, but still there. Those who die before the disease takes them simply stand back up, like shambling corpses. Many people died that way.
If somebody dies before they really turn, they just turn mindless?
Something like that, yes. Wouldn't that be great? To not have a mind, to worry and woe about how terrible this island is.
Oh my god, I'm going, hello.
I'm sorry.
You should be.
No, it's okay.
It's really not.
This is probably the first time he's had anybody to talk to in decades.
I've had visitors from time to time. One not too far away. They're dead now, though. Thought themselves capable of living on this island and finding their way out.
Doman, is this thing down here actually here?
Yes, it is.
Like, climbs up on the roof, sees something, and it scribbles back down again. Oh, Samantha and Greg, there's a circle thing in this. It's all covered in blood, like a symbol, like a star.
A star made of blood.
Wait, I thought these things were supposed to be mindless. Are they drawing?
I don't try to understand what they do. Some just lean, some just eat, some will just stand and stare and mumble like they're talking. And some decide to make art. It's really terrible.
What kind of art do they make?
All they do is draw. Or they'll pick up pieces of something they've eaten and rearrange it. Tear out the insides and lay it out in piles. It's really sad and disgusting.
And weird. I don't think mindless creatures do things like that.
Actually, well, maybe not, but I kind of remember when we found the hunters the first time. Their camp looked like it had something similar. Bodies arranged and bones put into shapes, almost ritualistically.
Delman, does a pentagram mean anything?
Roll me a religion or arcana check.
I would ask the same thing.
Yeah. You don't need a check.
Yay.
But Gregory, you're not the biggest book boy, but you might know something. Let's see. Give me
Proficient in religion.
Yeah, I bet you are.
Good man. Good fucking man.
Yeah.
Fucking.
My
Are you telling me you aren't an ignorant religious? All right. Oh, look at that.
I ain't a smart man.
But he goes to Bible study.
That's right.
You know that oftentimes there are those who follow not gods, but something else, Greg. Usually cultists and the like. Gods are given symbols and signs of their divinity. You know, Avandras are the 3 soft lines, simple but meaningful. Those who pray to things or give respect and reverence to things as they would a god, to something else often create symbols of their own. And one of the most commonly presented are not always stars, but sharp angles with at least 3 to 6 points. It doesn't look like anything you've really seen before, but the shape, and especially the contents that make up the shape, Greg, they definitely do lend itself to something foul. And yeah, Samantha, you actually do know what these are. They're very specific symbols, although crudely drawn. They're not quite as perfectly circular as they may be presented in your eyes, possibly the fog and the darkness encroaching your vision. They're actually very crude and almost waving, as it looks like the hands that drawed them, one of them currently sort of knelt down and just playing in the snow with these bony fingers. Doesn't seem too capable of really mimicking the shape that you would recognize. Though there is rarely ever a touch of order to such things, you would know that there are simple shapes that help define, call upon, and give reverence to things such as demons, entities and spirits that exist beyond this world and are just considered the epitome of chaos. Some people believing they spawned from the great war between Tyr and Talos that defined the era of change. That when complete order and complete chaos clashed, the result, the discharge, the damage from this clash sort of created a rift that just spawned these things that want to change, whether by mind or by body, by conniving words or by physically tearing things and giving them new forms. This structure, this symbol rather, doesn't ring to you as anything in particular, no names, no identity, but it does immediately speak to you as being demonic.
From my perspective,
Hard to say. A lot of things from that era, even to those you've once answered to, are somewhat vague. Only those who really lived in that time would know. But that's one of the many stories, and possibly the more believable ones, considering the nature of, existence.
It makes sense. Okay.
It does. It holds up.
Been communicating. These things are not cursed.
Yeah, I've certainly seen that. But I mean, that's a symbol of worship, right? That's...
One could call it that. Is a glimpse of order into a realm of chaos. Dealing with
Demon? Wait, you think that the girl that went up in the mountains and the thing that they used to fight off? This is getting crazy. So the things they fought off dragons with, you think they were demons?
whatever it is that's going on here, whatever it is that caused all this, very definite connection to the occult.
Hell.
Crunch, crunch. You see this pale elf walking forward, following these bloody footsteps until he comes to what looks to be one of these undead shambling creatures. This one holding most of its flesh on its upper body, the lower part of it, just the skeletal form, sort of buried in the snow. And you can see as he pulls against this strange, looks like a rope tied around his wrist, and what seems to be connected to a branch on one of these bushes. Looks like it's been caught in some sort of snare as he pulls away, kicking at the snow, but sort of finding himself stuck and lost. His cold, fleshy form somewhat stiff and his movements impaired. Oh, hello, Leto. Did you get caught in the trap again?
He named them. This is the spirit.
I don't think he named them. I think that was their name before they died.
I'm gonna go with he named them, and that's still a problem.
These are my neighbors.
Yeah, see? Makes perfect sense.
Alright then, Leto, as he pulls on this rope tied to his wrist and just starts to tug him along through the grass, or through the snowy grass, sort of back in your cage, we can't have you wandering off.
Can I see this one?
Excuse me, I'm dragging a corpse here.
Peleus, why do you do this? Why are you corralling your former neighbors?
You may not be able to tell, but right now, as he looks up into the fog, there's still that sort of silver glimmer of light, although things are still sort of shady in this area. The sun is still out. This is the nice time of the day. But when the sun sets, well, that's when all the things that hide from the light, more of the creatures you've seen, come out. And when there's nothing left alive for them to eat, they'll eat the dead. Tries to slide around you. Better them than me.
So they eat each other.
They tend to eat my neighbors. I hear them groaning in the night before the teeth sink into their throats.
So it's not that they're
quite
eating.
sad.
So I'm sorry. It's not that they're eating each other. It's that the monstrous ones are coming to eat what's available.
These things do smell quite awful. I bet to them it smells like a beautiful and delicious marinade.
Oh, this is starting to sound like bad zombies and the bigger bad zombies.
Mm-hmm. Can I see this one over here? Yeah,
See which one?
this one.
Oh yeah, you happen to look on the other side of this standing rock, which looks like it was once adorned in these like soft curving elven symbols, maybe just some sort of marker. But on the other side, you just see this very like long streaks of black hair covering its face. Just these long, pale arms sort of scratching into the rock. You see some of this old, pale flesh now becoming soft and malleable like a paste as it's rubbing its hands on the other side. And it, too, is making these crude star symbols.
Samantha, do you have any rope? Do I have any rope?
Do you have rope?
dig through.
Hi, my name's Omen. Are you playing a D&D character who has an adventuring pack? You should always check, because you might have rope or pythons or rations.
I do have rope.
Persephone, come on, what's he doing?
No, there's another one over here. He's drawing on the rock. I'm gonna help lead it back. Or try to. We can't just let these things wander around. I'm trying to...
So I'm like working on the rope, trying to like tie it into like a loop thing. It's gonna look like a really bad like slip knot thing. I just want to throw it over it and catch it and drag it back gently.
Are you saying you're gonna lasso the zombie?
Yes, but she doesn't know what that is.
All right, you tie the traditional elven knot, the lasso, on your rope, and sure, you make a pretty decent makeshift knot just to hold on to it. Maybe you can, if you pull on one end of it, it'll fasten and tighten. These things probably don't need to be given too much comfort, and they probably don't feel too much pain, so you can probably make it pretty tight as you're gonna try and loop it over the rock.
Yeah, I don't want it. I just want to try to get it over the rock because I know if I pull it, it will close in around it.
Okay. Are you just like throwing it, or are you like carefully placing it? How are you doing this?
I'm gonna try. Is it a big rock? Can I like try to climb?
I mean,
up?
it's like 4 feet high, about 5 feet over. This thing's on its knees, so it's just about lower than the rock. It doesn't really seem to be paying you too much mind unless you're actively making sounds. And when you get about that close to it, you can see, like, as soon as you make yourself known around the corner, the hair just sort of shifts, and you can see these, like, wide, basically bright yellow eyes. One of them open, one of them half open, as it just looks your way.
I'm gonna try to throw it over there and just pull it closed when it looks like the rope's around it.
Sure, give me a dex check.
Ah. And here's my inspiration. There we go. It's used.
All right.
Curse is broken.
Ooh, this creature doesn't really have much time to avoid, and as it sees you motioning towards it suddenly, it tries to react, but again, its body is halfway stuck in some of this frost. It's already frozen and stiff in its movements. It doesn't have any way to really get out of the way. And then the noose ends up tightening around his neck as you have him on a rope.
Alright. Let's go. Let's go this way. Come on. Anna.
Yes? Start dragging against the rock.
No. Around. Oh god. I don't want to hurt him. He's making too much noise. Okay. Javen, Luna, move.
Luna.
So it's crawling towards you on the ground.
This is a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, actually. He's practically moving towards me.
I feel like that's probably
more noise than the other one.
Yeah, the other one was sort of just preoccupied with what he was doing. He got caught in a trap and sort of pulling against it. He didn't really have much of a jaw or much left of his throat at the time to really make much sound besides like a low gurgle. And even at the time, at this point, he wasn't being like forcefully dragged by Peleus through the snow, or just being led. Well, Persephone, this one's taken notice of her, and as she's dragging, he's making definitely more noise than the last one.
Persephone. You just kind of like straddle up behind him, and he's just being dragged on the ground.
Basically, he hasn't had a chance to get up, so he's being pulled. He's trying to pull himself towards Persephone.
I take my gloved hand and just grab him by his mottled hair, lift him up, and stab him in the throat with a scepter.
Yeah, no real way to avoid. You just you feel this like not wet, but just cold spray of maybe just frost on your hand as there's this black, dense mist of blood reaching up along the length of your scepter from its sharpened end to the edge of your palm as this thing is.
Just kind of pull it out with a twist, trying to make sure that it's just ruined. Alright, keep going about what you're doing.
Okay.
As you're pulling the scepter out, Samantha, this thing's head just turns up towards you, and as it goes to, you see its teeth bared, its lips, what remains of them, basically gone, reeling back, and then throws itself towards you. But the moment it gets close, you see it sort of reel back, and it's choking gasp.
The second it does that, Samantha's not playing no games with these fucking things. All of her snakes are just like ready to bite the living fuck out of it. Doesn't matter if it doesn't work, they're gonna do it anyway.
Like, you see it trying to bite, but immediately stops and pulls itself back and just lets out the only thing you really call like a hiss at this point, because it really doesn't have any way of making true gurgling noises. It's just all this air escaping from its
Yes,
six hisses right back at it.
Leave her alone. This way. We're going this way. Gregory, I'm gonna move. Don't freak out.
What hurts?
It's perfectly fine. Everything's under control.
Yeah.
Yeah, see? I can do this.
I see that.
Where are you trying to take him, Persephone?
I'm following the footsteps back where Peleus went. I'm gonna take him back to the corral. Peleus went to.
I found another
Easily.
one wandering around. I don't exactly know where he went, so I just kind of followed after you.
Okay.
It's me to Peleus.
As easily enough able to drag this thing back to where Peleus. Come on, I can't grab you. Come on, there you go. Nope. Oh my god. As you easily end up dragging this thing along following the trail of bloody footsteps until you get back to this. Looks like the gate's been closed, but easily enough you can unlatch it. This creature standing by itself again, just really unaware of your presence. Even every step you make, the crunching of the snow and this thing hissing and snapping its teeth, doesn't seem to really faze it at all.
Nope. And I'm gonna swing the door open with one hand and try to like go around the corner, but like pulling on the string. So it's like I want to keep it like tight. So I like as I tug it, it's to guide him inside, but I'm on the other side of a wall.
Okay, I get you. Yeah, easily enough, you open up the gate and you watch this thing standing there. Even Peleus kind of looks over confused, but the creature doesn't move. And just with a little angled tug, you just sort of drag this creature past the gate and just sort of shove him against the other one until he bums out of the way.
Yeah, see? Now you have a friend.
And I'm gonna close the gate.
As you hear, as the one standing there just sort of looks down and his stance gets a little wobbly, and then he falls as the one who's been clearly agitated is just reaching up and tearing at the other one's leg.
Oh, not friends. Okay.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. It looked important to you, so I decided to help out.
Yes, they're good at keeping death away. And I suppose they were my only friends for so many years.
Peleus, I'm gonna act a fool, but you tried hiding out away from all this? I heard a story once, a farmer putting out, chicks and things outside his hen house, so the fox would just take them, but I mean, he was just teaching the fox where to come and get food.
I don't know if these Sin Khan are foxes. They've been in this village ever since the Liscus died. Maybe they learned, maybe they didn't. But these things have been the only defense I've had, besides my uncanny ability to hide and cower against the creatures who come knocking on our doors. Or I should say scratching, as he walks by one of these buildings, and you can see him almost run a hand along the side of it, and you can see where it once was just a sort of decayed wood becomes this series of just gouges along the opening of this, until it leads to basically a torn open door, where the outside of the frame looks like just something with teeth and claws came through and just removed the door.
You say so.
Do the scratches, do they look like intentional, like they were trying to get at something, or was it just coincidental, like just a bunch of scratches?
Hard to say. Really hard to just immediately look and read the intentions of these wild and now very old carvings into the wood, but considering the circumstances with your incredibly high insight, I'd say definitely looks like something was trying to get in. and something well, eventually found its way in.
Does this just look like the inside of somebody's like normal house?
Yeah, it looks like a small hut, something you'd find in maybe a smaller village like you've seen around in, maybe not Moss Den, but maybe more in Thistle. Although these ones aren't bound to trees, they just look like sort of very old. Not very, like maybe like it housed like 1 or 2 people inside.
Try to go to Luna and Gregory before Luna stepped away. Want to clear a place like this out of all of this. It's just uncomfortable having them so close, but considering what it is Peleus is saying they are useful for, well, the devil you know.
I guess. Just living like this.
You say
Can't even
leaving or
imagine.
living?
Living like this. Oh, I mean, Pele, he lived alone, surrounded by these things for so long. I don't know. Just feel for the man, I guess.
So you're fuel for action.
Do the markings on the elvish markings on the rocks, do they mean anything, or are they just like ornate markings of elven design?
It looks like at first they seem like titles, but you realize they're really old names, like Leto and let's see, Mortana. Like old names that typically you'd expect of, well, the only thing you could consider to be like elven elders. Names of another time. They seem to be almost markers of, well, almost like the closest thing you'd expect of like, well, like signs and addresses of who owns what, who lives where. They seem to correlate in direction, like one side may point to one building, another one may point to another. So what are the rest of y'all doing? Luna, what are you doing? What are you doing, Javen? Clyde, you're just climbing buildings?
Yep. Having a look around. See Samantha starting to wander off. Gregory turns around, just watch her confused.
Samantha, Luna, and Javen are also just like trying to stay with the group. Don't want people to wander off and get attacked randomly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Samantha, what are you doing?
This huge building, does it have any windows?
Not true windows. They do have basically the old style of just openings, little small rectangular shapes near the tops, allowing the flow of air through. But, well, definitely not a good thing to have during winter. It definitely looks like what's sort of been described as a great hall. When you came around the front, you could see it looks like the heads of some great horned creature, as possibly elks or rams of immense size, adorning the front. It's definitely got this sort of sense of importance to it. And as you entered the village, it was definitely the center of one of these many hamlets you now occupy. But as you walk by, sort of just trying to see inside, it's about 10 feet high. You'd have to climb up the side to really get a peek in. But you do... I mean, it's kind of strange to say, Samantha. You're walking by this and you feel sort of this chill. Like a breeze is blowing over you, but this island is frozen. This island is already flaking off your scales and challenging just how much cold you can take. And yet, the closer you step to this building, it just feels like you're stepping deeper into some frozen hell. Your breath comes out like this thick fog, almost filling the air around you before spilling away.
Does this seem like a trick of the mind, or perhaps something intrinsically magical to me?
Roll me a intelligence check?
Sure.
It definitely strikes you as odd, simply because, well, unless this area is some sort of natural heat sink, it doesn't really make sense that being this close to a structure, especially one that should guard from the wind, would be any colder, and yet it is. It feels immensely colder, like the very life is being drawn from your breath. But it could be magical. It could be a natural phenomenon, but you're not really sure with what you're able to perceive.
Obviously, someone just left the air conditioning in the Great Hall on before the whole town collapsed and was feeling the blowback out of the window. No, I make.
With the idea that the stones are like signs for a direction, like what the houses are, Persephone's gonna look at where the star was made and see if she could read what's underneath that.
Sure. You see a couple of names underneath, one of them being, what was it? Ooh. One of them sort of coming off in the southeastern direction, pointing in a direction where Clyde's currently climbing on. You see a name that catches you off guard for a second, because it almost reads as another. You see Lokara. And then next to that, pointing directly to the east, is a small name. Looks like it was barely carved on there. Peleus. Just as you read that sign, you can hear the sound of it as this once latched door swings open and Peleus very quietly steps inside of this building. If you want shelter from the cold, I suppose I can share.
So you can.
Opens up to this very small-looking cottage that, as some of you start to step into, it is a very, very small cottage.
Spartan cottage.
Mm-hmm. Shoulder to shoulder with how many people are basically pouring themselves in. Doorways thin, of typical elven design. As you walk past a very small door, almost looks like a closet, Greg. You look in and you see basically a broken down cot, probably where he sleeps. A few boxes of supplies, things that now look empty as you're looking in them. Okay.
What was your relation with Lucasta? Like, how did you know her here? I saw a rock with both of your names on it. Did you two live together? Were you close?
Lucasta was a neighbor. She and her mother lived just to the southwest of us, in a small hut together. Many of the children of Pelcoa did not like me. They thought I was creepy and sad. But Lucasta, she was always kind. It almost made me cry. They were very nice to everyone in Stroma, always working their hardest to make medicine for the people who would get injured or sick. I thought she was dead when her mother sent her away. But you say she's on the mainland.
Mm-hmm. I met her in this small town of Oakwell. She still makes medicines. She's an herbalist there.
I must say, I am envious of her. She will get to die in a nice place. And I haven't been to a nice place in so long. Except in my dream.
Well, when we're done here, we can take you there. Like we've offered. I'm sure Lucasta would like to see an old friend.
I had a dream I met Lucasta again, and all the ice was melted. But you weren't there, and you weren't there. None of you were there. I don't think that dream will come true.
To be fair, it's more green where she is right now.
It won't matter when you all die. Everyone who comes to Stroma dies.
I'm going to kill him. I'm going to blow up this entire house.
No, please don't do that. That would make a lot of noise, and that would attract a lot of monsters. You're fine, Peleus.
Just
Thank
tune
you.
them, if it's that much of a bother for you. I'm sure
Are there
you're
any-
an expert at ignoring people.
Are there any, like, family portraits or anything? Persephone is curious about this man that is super, super sad, but has parents that were supposedly very, very happy. Before she starts asking rude questions. She's gonna look around to see if she can see herself.
You don't see pictures of anyone, which is, I mean, it was a far shot considering the person. You look around the room, you don't see any smiling faces or like him holding anyone, a child in his hands, a lover in his arms. It's not even pictures of himself.
No photographs laying around.
No selfies on his phone.
Oh, that's sad.
But you do see these really, it's not childlike, but crude, requiring more refinery. Looks like art, sort of just etched into the wall. There's no color to it. It seems like he's just sort of been drawing with charcoal. You see images of vast forests, and maybe it looks like someone like him, sort of this pale, white, featureless thing with long ears walking through it. You see one of him sort of off. It looks like he's in some black sea surrounded by these little white shapes. Well, no, those looks like stars floating among them. And you even see one of them. It looks like a similar picture, a bit more detail in it, and it almost looks recent. No wear or tear on the paper. You see, it looks like in the middle of a forest, the air is filled with these soft little lights, that look like stars themselves. And you see a campfire, and several people sitting and sleeping around it. And you see this little thin white figure sitting on all fours, or I guess cross-legged rather, next to a big horse.
Peleus, what are these?
And start, like, reaching for them curiously.
These are my
dragons?
dreams. The only nice thing about my life are the dreams I have. I get to escape this terrible frozen island. I had one recently that was very nice. There was hardly any ice on the ground. There was even color in the grass. And the air was filled with... It looked like fireflies. And there were people. So many people. One in particular, who just seemed so kind. I wanted to be near him. But then the morning came, and I had to leave. It was a nice dream.
I'm sorry about all this, but we don't really mean to be stepping in your business none. We came here to get something done, and we were not expecting all this. The cold. We knew about the fog, but not this. Is there... I'm sure Purse wants to rack your brain as much as she can, but is there some supplies around here? We need clothes and maybe even food, if there is any. I could go out and look. I don't want to get nobody else in danger, but I don't know if we're going to make it where we need to go, where we are.
I've spent many years here, both frozen and thawed, and all that remains alive and well on this island are locked away in boxes, some in carts overturned. I've been spending my days free, which are many now, considering all are dead. Searching through the remnant supplies, food that isn't just berries, water that isn't frozen, maybe even some new clothes. But something always goes wrong. Sometimes the undead pull themselves from the frost and attack. Sometimes I'm out racing the Sin Khan. And sometimes I get shot in the face.
Yeah, we saw about that. It's just, you ain't got a whole lot here. Is it just a storehouse or anything? Again, I'm just looking for blankets or anything. I ain't looking for a feed. I understand if you ain't got no food, but blankets at the very least, maybe some heavier clothing.
We had blankets. But when the Liscus began to die, most of our supplies were taken into the Great Hall. Many a woman and man took residence in that hall, guarded by the chief. I think they're all dead now. If you want blankets and supplies, they might be in there, but I wouldn't go. A terrible place, that hall.
How many went into that hall?
I've lost count.
Okay, so I'm just gonna assume it's more than how many are currently in your house.
It was
Yes.
peculiar. I don't know why, I just felt an inclination to investigate it. I guess just because maybe it was the biggest building we'd seen. But as I stepped closer to that place, stepped within its sheltering walls, I noticed it felt like it was much colder. It almost felt like the life itself was being pulled away from me towards the building, or perhaps through the window. But that lines up with what it is Peleus is saying. Remnants of this village barricaded themselves in that great hall, and if they're all dead now, well, that much undeath concentrated in a small, tight space. I would not be surprised if its desecration could affect my comfort.
We might have to clear it out if we're looking to get any blankets and more appropriate clothing for the weather.
Is that your plan? Do you plan to live here on Stroma?
No.
Because I can assure you that is one that will lead to death.
No, we
Unless you're
don't.
me.
We don't plan to live here, Peleus. We plan to finish, or rather, to stop Sinkan. That's what we came here to do.
You assume whatever source is within the mountains. I assume we're going tomorrow. Thought we were heading there now, but guess we want to rest.
That would be wise. We should probably do that and come up with an idea. I mean, if the path that Yari had taken into the mountains is the size of a child, well, then we gotta think about how we're gonna actually get into the mountains and how we want to go about that. And
I know where the path is.
would you be willing to show us,
No.
or should we just go up the? I didn't think so.
Can you give us accurate directions?
You have a map.
I do have a map.
There is a map. I cannot give you the directions myself. My memory is not very good. But when we looked for that little girl, I helped the scouting party search. I helped draw a map for them. But I don't know where I left it.
Could be.
Oh,
Happy thoughts, Luna. Happy thoughts.
if it was anywhere. I've searched this village high and low for supplies. I've torn boxes asunder for clothing. Most of it was terrible. I've looked for food, and most of it was rotten. But I could never find that map.
Looked everywhere with one place, I'm assuming.
I
Sounds
suppose
like
so.
it.
Alright,
Do you want to just perhaps take a quick breather, let us warm up a bit, and take care of that hole today, and reassess things after that, and perhaps hunker down for the night?
Yeah, it sounds like a plan to me.
got my vote. If you could just give me, like, I don't know, like an hour, I need to patch myself up if we're gonna go fighting zombies in a damn house.
Yeah, that's about how long I was thinking.
How long I was thinking?
Well, you can have this residence. There's not a lot of room, and it's hard to make a fire. But I suppose we can share. As he just sort of sits down on this, it looks like something of a small shelf, just a wooden slab about 3 feet off the ground, sort of set with these, looks like pelts, but most of them have been matted and dirtied over just, looks like countless years of, well, not cleaning. Hillish just sort of sits down and reaches into his pack and pulls out another little pouch filled with these strange frost-covered berries. I haven't shared a meal in about 2 years. Do you all like good berries?
Yes! I'm gonna plop down next to him.
Uh-oh.
Oh my god, everyone's gone.
Clyde freaks out
Gotcha.
so much he just breaks the game.
It was poison, pranked you.
Oh my god.
PPK! Bet you never saw that one coming.
Alright, for the next hour, you guys have time to just sort of kick back, relax. Maybe some of you just mentally prepare for, well, what you might be encountering. Peleus would just sort of spend some time not talking too much unless spoken to. If someone has any questions for him, he'd probably answer. But otherwise, just sort of quietly eating his, these little frosted berries. And those who eat them, they don't taste particularly sweet. They're not like Clyde's good berries that are just filled with this pack of sugar that makes you want to jump up on your feet and run. They're sort of mellow and sweet, almost more like a dessert than a fruit or a berry. And honestly, it's something. Maybe if you were in a bad mood, maybe if you had a terrible day and you just sat down and popped one of these in your mouth, they'd make pretty good comfort food.
Yeah, while we're resting, Persephone is going to try a good berry from him, just, to share a meal, but she's also going to ask, Eladrin, Peleus, I'm sorry if this is really, really personal, it's probably really, really personal. Are you an Eladrin? By any chance? I'm just looking him over as I ask that.
I guess you can just see right through me.
No, it's not you.
What gave it away?
I knew an Eladrin who, when he was very sad, he was also a literal embodiment of winter. So just the way that you talk and just kind of reminded me of that. And you said that you were born to two very, very happy people versus your current situation, so I assumed that there was some spring and then you were winter.
I've never been truly happy. At least not for long. It's probably my fault. But yes, I suppose I am one of these creatures. My parents were always so loving and happy, like you, springing from foot to foot, with a skip in your step. But I've always slumped and sighed. I didn't choose to be this, you know.
I know. The one I knew was more within Autumn. Actually, he liked comfort and to be comfortable and for things to be indulging. He was a little different or calmer than I was most of the time. But he had his moments where he was really sad, and he had his moments where he was really happy. I never got a chance to see him when he was really angry, but I hear that was a good thing.
He sounds unstable.
Maybe, I mean, he was pretty emotional.
I can understand that.
Yes, I don't mean to barge in.
Right. No, we gotta go, right?
Oh, hold on. We've seen things out here, and we've seen things on the mainland too. Animals and stuff that got infected by this. There was some fellas out there, and we found you that they were different. It's like they were coated in ice, but still moved. Is there anything else out here you know of? Something worse than that?
I don't understand it myself. But those who hold Sinkan within them, who still walk and spread this sickness, the more it seems to change them. Some just look like sickly men. Others grow tall and gangly with long claws and sharp teeth. Some lose everything. They grow long, too long to stand on their legs, and so they crawl. Their skin is so thin and tough, it almost looks like they're covered in scales. And even the bones in their body and the teeth in their mouth grow to such size they cannot even hope to close them or walk proper. They walk around like beasts. All I know is the longer one is infected with this illness, the more it changes them. And some have been infected for a very long time.
The longer someone's been dead, worse it gets.
Makes sense. Have you seen any that seem to have a connection to magic?
Not that I understand. Most of them just act like twisted animals, although they garble and gurgle at each other. When they first broke into this village and the Liscus died, there were some nights they would stand outside your door, scratching and whispering, but I never knew what.
Yes, I converse in the tongue of the abyss.
It drove some to madness, some to take their own lives.
Alright, y'all, we want to come up with a game plan in this. Was there only one entrance there, Samantha? That big old place?
Were there windows that you could see through? Are there windows we can see through? And I look at Peleus because he should know.
I literally just was over there. There are windows.
Like, big enough to get through?
About 10 feet off the ground.
No, they just seem like the little small, like maybe 3 feet wide, 1 foot tall little basement windows, but they're high up on these wooden walls. Meant for just, letting cool air pass through, maybe. So that things don't get stuffed, or if there's a fire inside, it doesn't fill everything with smoke.
So not big enough for a person to fit through?
Maybe Persephone, someone small and thin, maybe Clyde could probably squeeze through. Maybe even Luna.
I'm also small and thin.
Yeah. But you got a lot of stuff on you.
You're right.
This portable RAM.
I mean, it. Not exactly the most, I don't know, complicated thing, but throw open the doors, I can stand in front of it and keep them at bay as best I can. If y'all want to cut them down.
I would think it'd be better to just concentrate our efforts at the front door, like you said. Try to just get through and be quick and as quiet as we can about it. Do you think the ones in your corrals will be agitated at the sounds of magic and life?
I don't know. No one's ever come in here swinging and screaming and casting spells. But I would be careful. You want to be quiet, but they have been quiet for a very long time. I haven't heard a whisper, a yell, or a scream for many years.
We just light the place up, but then we burn all our provisions. Sorry, Purse, what?
Well, if we want to keep it quiet, if they can't be crowding the doors, they're probably just wandering around inside the hall. Maybe we can all quickly get inside and close the door so the noise that we do make stays within the building. If we make too much noise on the outside, it would just lure more enemies to the village, and I don't think that would be a very wise thing to do.
How does that little trick of yours work exactly? Perhaps you can ask your fairy spirits to suppress the noise.
Let's see. I have anything.
Within that weird little space.
It doesn't. It's really more for resting. It's not meant to be like an actual crystal ball. It's really more to be a protective fae hut. Like a tent.
We could use a protective fae hut. That would be useful.
I just figured it sounds like whatever's going to be real dangerous is what's inside that thing. If we all group ourselves up, we'd be banging up against each other and don't really do much good for us. I'd rather not get us all surrounded, especially with... I know some of us don't really fight all that good up close and personal with each other. I mean, Clyde, he can shoot a bow, but...
I mean, I have...
I'd rather not be right next to the zombies. I could just be in the house, like, across the way.
I mean, if I could just see through a window, I have 2 spells I can move around. I have that ball of fire that I used, and then I have, my ray of light. I could just cast it into the building and then just move it around until everything stops moving.
Alright.
Oh yeah, we just moved for 2 minutes until it's clear.
Yeah.
Just microwave the Great Hall. That's fine. Oh jeez.
I don't know, Bert. I think the windows. I didn't really look at them, but I think they're probably too small to be able to do that.
Why do you say that?
Isn't it that as long as I can see where I want to cast it, I can just cast it?
Yes, that is how that works. But
yeah,
But it would only be for like 2 minutes at most. I don't know how much I could do with that.
I mean, I don't really looked at it. Does that beam of light, like, burn things?
Yeah, it has it. I mean, the ones that I've casted it on, it kind of looks like it burns them just a little bit.
I meant like stuff. Like, I'm trying to get blankets and things out of there. Like I said,
you know what?
We could open the doors and Luna could burst it all into fire, but don't really do as much good.
You know, I haven't ever considered that or tried it, so it's probably not a good idea to try it now, considering the circumstances.
I mean, if we clear
That's
the
a
place
terrible
out and
excuse.
everything's just rubble, then we just sort
We
of.
need the blankets, Samantha. I don't want to try it and then burn the blankets.
When you've used it in the forest plenty of times, and it does not satellite any grass or leaves or anything of the sort. And those ones weren't covered in frost. Just fog.
I might need to cast it in there regardless. But if there's as many more, there's a lot more than us, I doubt I'll be able to clear it within 2 minutes. On my own.
Probably not.
Give it a shot.
What about your Fae friends?
I wasn't... Okay, so... My magic doesn't work the same as everyone else's. It looks like you guys just use the same kind of spells over and over again, but... I can do a lot more than what you guys have seen, and because of how much I'm able to do every day, I have to spend some time and kind of commit to certain spells. So some days I'm more committed to communicating with the Fae and summoning them in forms of animals than I am on other days. Today was not one of those days. Today was
I wish I had Fae friends.
I can introduce you to some. On another day, maybe tomorrow.
Perception probably
on the topic.
Right. I wasn't anticipating calling upon my Fae friends today. I was anticipating that today we were going to plant a garden on Stroma and maybe have to fight back anything that came close to our garden. So everything that I was ready to cast today was based around that. So I'm sorry that I'm not entirely useful utility-wise right now.
I mean, you might be the clutch of all this anyway, Purse. Don't say that. I mean, we want to try that. Purse, I don't know, get up on Javen's shoulders, look through the window, try to cook whatever's inside of there, and then I try to hold the door closed.
I could also use my magic to see if I can hold some of them in place. Like in the cave when I used to just summon roots to grab onto things.
That'd be great if we open the door and find them in there. Does the roots come up through the wood? Like, do they just
It's magic, so it's really not...
I could be in space and I can summon roots, alright? Space roots.
I don't remember if there actually needs to be vegetation around or not.
Mm-mm.
No, it's my magic is more rooted in the nature around us, so it will take the form and be very much like the natural world around us. But I don't need an actual root or tree. I mean, I used it in the cave.
That's fine. I mean, we all got our own ways of fighting. That's, you know, if it comes down to a fight, I'm sure we can all fight. Just, do we want to do the window thing?
You can try the window thing, or I could try to restrain them with my plant magic, and then that would at least give everyone an opportunity to file inside and like attack them, so we can minimize as much noise as possible. Or yeah, or not even have to go inside, just open the door and shoot at them, and then close the door, like cowards. But it works, Peleus. I think your strategy worked because you're still alive, so that's a good thing.
My strategy is to ignore it and just starve to death. I don't want to be a bother.
Yeah, I don't think that's a winning one for us. Well, I don't see a reason why not. If it won't burn what's inside, Purse, then we can do that light of yours. And
I don't want to burn what's inside, but maybe, I don't know.
The magic did seem not holy, but pure, not too different from some of the magic you call upon. So perhaps these things will be afraid or weakened in facing it. I do not know. It is certainly worth trying, and you are useful, Persephone. Your magic is, as you have explained, different from mine, but that does not make you any less useful. I just did not understand.
One way or another, let's go take a look, see if it's even possible.
Alias,
Yes.
whilst we're doing this, you think you could get some firewood in here? You said it was hard to start a fire, but I'll take care of that when we get back.
Alright then. You go take care of the terrible evil that lies within that hall. And I'll get firewood.
I appreciate the help greatly. Thank you, Peleus. I give him a big beaming smile.
He just frowns.
It's okay. I'm gonna skip out.
I'm glad to
What do you mean?
I mean, it's literally winter
What do
here,
you mean?
Samantha.
You see just embers shoot out from his mouth.
I was making a meta joke. Why didn't you play along?
Darn, why didn't I play along in character? Darn me. The ruin of fun.
Okay,
Are,
Gregory,
are
you
there
come to the
windows
front.
Are there windows on the east side?
On the east
As you
side,
call
yeah. It looks like there's about 3 of them in total, and like sort of evenly spaced out along this whole face. Again, they're not very like prominent or large. They look like just for ventilation's sake. They're about 10 feet up. Get to the front side, Gregory. You see these giant, looks like ram heads now, pretty clear to your vision. And it doesn't seem like there's any windows on the front of this thing. It just looks like possibly only on the side when you're passing by.
Gregory, if you give me a boost, I can look inside.
Yeah, sure. Well, should I just go ahead and kill these things over here?
Oh god, that's a long haul.
Let's go somewhere towards the middle. Yeah. So I can see it all.
Alright. Oops a daisy.
Is he doing that little like cupping hands thing?
Just grabbing you by your
Yep.
scruff and just lifting you.
Oh god. By my little bougie.
Throw her up into the air.
Oh god.
Yeah, with a little bit of help, Gregory, with your immense strength, easily able to lift up Persephone, not really much strain. Persephone, you have to kind of balance yourself as you're trying to keep yourself leveled on his palms until you're up at the edge of this window, and you put your hands on the ledge, and it becomes apparent these balls are pretty thick. As in, like, there's maybe about a foot or so you actually to sort of look inside these this opening. And from your first glance, just looking around, you just see mostly darkness. You see the other side of the wood, although it's not in any color, as it seems like this hall has no light inside. Even with these windows, although it seems like the fog prevents most of the natural sunlight now setting in the background from really reaching in and illuminating this place. But give me a perception check. As you're squinting your eyes and trying to pick up on whatever details you can.
I'm helping her look.
Yes. He is 10 feet tall. He is
Yeah,
helping
you're holding her feet and you're looking through her feet up into her eyes like one of those
Yeah, like a
guns.
telescope.
I was about to say, like, if it's total darkness, that's a disadvantage, isn't it?
I'm just rotating her back and forth like a telescope.
Let's see. Okay. As you're scanning around, Persephone, your eyes are sharp. You're thinking of this plan. How's it going to work? It's another one of the Valiant Seven's many successful plans. As the first thing that strikes you, Persephone, is a lack of something. You see shadows every so often, just sort of the way that this dim light works within this place, as looks like there's pillars standing in the middle of this hall, sort of supporting the building. Almost look like shapes at first, but nothing. You see, maybe it looks like a long drawn like brazier across the ground, maybe where great meals are once held. Beasts are strewn over flame and cooked for this great meal, and tables waiting for food, but most of them are empty. You see scraps of cloth on the ground. To the right, I guess to the north side, you see it looks like the ground sort of rises up in a set of steps that leads into somewhere you can't quite make out, a little too dark. Down to the south, you look like where the door should be, a large set of double doors, but again, gets too dark for your vision to really pick up on. But the strange thing about this, Persephone, is you don't see anything or anyone.
It's completely empty.
What? I mean, it's empty.
How
No
close is
people
that?
and no thing.
Okay. Give me a second. I'm gonna try something.
How close is the brazier to me? Is it like within 30? How long is this building? This building isn't that long. Can't be that long, right?
Not super long, but compared to the other ones, pretty long. It's like just to the north of where you are. Like you could. It's probably one of the few things you could probably make out the most.
I'm gonna use my druid craft trying to light the brazier so I can see if I can skitter any roaches.
Yeah, you take a deep breath, you mutter your incantation, and as you exhale to speak, you roll that fog comes from your lips, and your magic takes hold, and you see spark of light. But nothing.
Yeah, it's empty.
No flame.
Oh. That's also weird.
What? What happened?
Well, I can use my magic like the way Samantha and Luna does, and I can light campfires and stuff, and it won't work in there. I try it again. No, it won't work.
Small flame catches in the brazier, sort of wavering, and then...
So the whole place empty, or there just no dead people?
There's just no dead people. It looks like there was food, and I see some stairs against the back wall. But
go up or
I don't
down?
see any bodies.
Is there a second store?
Can I tell if they go up or down?
It looks like they go up, but they're on like a few steps. It looks like just a slight change in level, maybe where it's like a sort of a higher point in this building would be. But
it looks like they go a little up, but not a lot. Maybe it's a stage of some sort. I don't know. Maybe we can go in and check. I don't know. It's really weird.
Did it look like when my flame went out, did it look like it was from the wind? Like there was a wind in it?
It looked like it was a small spark of a flame sort of catching, and it's sort of standing and starting to billow and glow, spread along, looked like something inside there. But then it sort of stops, and then it wavers suddenly, as if a breeze just caught it.
I was able to... It was a small flame, and then it kind of blew out.
Is it a wind thing? You want to try my lantern? Not throwing it in there, but just... It shines a straight light.
Yeah, give me the lantern.
You're going to have to light it. There you go. I hand it up to her.
Holding it with one hand
Okay. That's okay. That's what magic is for.
Unhook it off my belt.
As you're pulling the lantern up, getting it closer again, that breath, that fog comes from your throat, and Greg gets protected, right? It's in his little bullseye thing?
Yeah.
Or is it okay? Yeah.
If it's not on, I probably have it closed up to just keep it all in one.
As you point it inside this place, you can actually see a lot better now. This long 60-foot cone basically illuminating everything. And yeah, you can see that empty, long brazier filled with nothing now. You can see, strangely enough, with all this color to your vision, patches of white covering everything. It looks like the only spot that's no longer covered is where your flame once tried to take hold. Everything seems to be layered in frost. You go down to the tables, they're all empty. Looks like some chairs are strewn across the room. You look down towards the door, this large double set of, heavy-looking doors that are surrounded by boxes, all piled up in these large stacks. The door itself seems like it's been barricaded from the inside by a large, what do you call it? Hitch. Long stretch of wood. And
It's called a bar?
Is it just a bar? Okay,
Is it
cool.
just a bar?
This looks like a long, wooden bar, just a long stretch of, thick wood. And you turn towards the northern end, and you see something of a stage. It looks like two sets of staircases going up maybe about less than 5 feet or so. It looks like it's something of a landing for a leader, as you see a big, well, not relatively too large, but like a relatively thick and heavy looking throne. A large chair where a leader would sit. And indeed, a leader sits inside as you see a skeleton wearing this sort of the remnants of maybe a robe. Your spotlight illuminates it and it sort of gives way. You can see the crevices in its face, the spaces between its ribs, as it just sort of sits leaning in one hand. You can see piled around it 5 empty vials, and one of them still sort of clutched between the last remnant of flesh in its hand. Empty glass vials. As you find, looks like the only person inside of this building.
Okay, I do find a body. It's a bony body. It's I would assume the village chief. And he looks very dead. Not like dead in the Grey Bitten way, but like a literal skeleton wearing clothing.
Alright, well.
The front doors are barricaded, though. There's a bunch of boxes, and then the big bar is down, so I think it's going to take a little more effort to get in.
Yeah, it looked like you could probably, like, the boxes aren't directly in the way of the door. They just look like they're sort of in the way to act as a, sort of like something to stop anything from just rushing through easily. But, yeah, it just looks like the only thing really stopping these heavy doors is just a bar on the other side.
Is the window, like, empty? Is there like a glass or something in front of?
They're just big old empty spaces, like old-fashioned windows. Hole in building.
How big are the, like, windows?
They're about, like, maybe 3 feet wide, maybe only a foot tall. Like, maybe you, Persephone, and Clyde currently would be the only ones really sizable enough to slip through it if you wanted to crawl inside, but...
Here, Persephone, get down, let me look. I can look without the light.
You climb on top of Greg.
Okay, and when as Luna climbs up, I can just hop down.
Alright, up we go.
Since I can see normally in darkness.
Oh yeah, with your eyes peering through this window, Persephone had to use a lantern, but everything in your eyes just looks like daytime. Sort of strange how, even in the darkest places, though your eyes still used once to see shades of gray, everything would just take on this sort of morbid tone. Now everything's just normal. It's kind of hard to tell the difference between night and dark outside of your very long radius as you look inside this very well lit great hall. Let's see. Where are you? One sec. There you are. Okay. Sure this works. And
I was like, y'all didn't see like the 30 ghosts in here?
Oof. True. Very true.
A lot of fucking ghosts.
this is what you see, Luna. Again, it looks like this very well-lit hall with boxes lining near where the door is, this large double set of doors. With your vision, you can especially make out some of the more subtle details. It looks like, yeah, everything's covered in frost. You can see in the corners, tucked away, are these barrels. Look like they may hold some sort of liquid inside them. Probably water for survivors. You can see off in the northern end of these corners, looks like one's a small bookshelf with several parchments and a lot of what look like handwritten tomes on them. Another one looks like a small chest hidden away in the corner. But at the center of this rise in the ground, you see it looks like a throne beset by 2, looks like ceramic braziers resting over this fur rug on the ground. And resting in the chair that looks like it should hold a leader is skeleton.
I look towards the ceiling.
Okay. You look up, and surprisingly, yeah, there's still some height to this building. It's not a complete perfect rectangle of a building. It has a slope where looks like these arcing roofs are made. And if you had eyes that were normal, you would just see this sort of veil of darkness as the little light in this area would be, well, extinguished by this present dim light. But when you look up, you see floating hanging in the air, just casually turning and whirling, silently, unnoticed if you had not turned your eyes in their direction. Bones. Just a sea of swirling bones.
Okay. So I'm gonna climb down from Gregory's
I just shove her in the
shoulder.
window. I figured that's where she's going anyway. She wanted to get up and get in the window. I said, just shove.
Welcome to the Bone Zone.
So can I wait for the others to get closer?
So we just going in?
No, we're not going in.
What did you see?
So wait for Samantha and Javen to come over.
How did you wave us over? My bad.
Yeah, she waved us over.
So
What'd you see?
This is sound really weird, but it's like, was it like just the bones floating around, or was there like something akin to like water up there?
Not that you could see. Your eyes could pierce through all the darkness, and all you could really make out, and the shapes were just these. They just looked like bones, like femurs, radii, maybe just some skulls floating among them. Some of them coming together in these like shapes before dispersing. It looks like there is sort of like the sea, like there should be liquid, but there is nothing that your sharp eyes could pick out.
So the reason there's nobody in there is because I assume they all died normally and became skeletons. Which there's one skeleton sitting on like a throne in there, as I'm sure Persephone saw. But if you looked up and if you were able to see, there was like a sea of bones just floating around on the ceiling.
What?
Sea of Bones.
Or something. It must be magical in some nature, but I don't know.
Well, I don't think bones are supposed to sit on a throne.
Well, I'm assuming that the bones belong to the village chief who died on the throne, but the bones on the ceiling, that... Okay, that's...
All the other people that went in there with them.
That would make sense. I was wondering why, if Pele said it was full, why it was so empty.
Samantha said something earlier. See that symbol over there in the snow? Them things are drawn. You said them were connected to demons. Is this? Are we talking demon stuff in here? Because I mean, we've seen Greybite. We haven't really seen no magic coming off of it besides just, people coming back alive.
Yes, a floating sea of bones is definitely, in my mind, demonic.
I don't really see it myself if I get bit, turn into an undead thing, and eventually turn it into floating bones. So
Maybe something else happened in there because they all put themselves in the Great Hall to protect themselves from all of the Grey Bitten.
You said there was one in a chair?
Yeah, there's like a little stage in the back, like against the back wall, and he was like wearing robes. He was surrounded by a couple of glass vials, one of them in his skeletal hand. If I had a guess from the scene, it looked like he either drank until he died, or he maybe poisoned himself if everyone died off. It was bizarre.
There was a lord I'd read about a long time ago. He did something similar when his town was under siege. Lord Raynon II. His walls broken, his people surrounded by savages, and they all killed themselves rather than face, well, I don't think music anyone wants to hear. Seeing what happened here, is far worse. I would not put it past this chief to decide that a poisoned glass of wine was an easier way for his people to meet their maker.
Yeah, and I mean, it might not actually be Greybite, but I mean, I've heard other stories from Father Winter of people, well, not people, but you know, undeath spreading at times. And when I've been looking at your wound purse, and before that, this whole place, this island, I mean, the whole damn place is festering. It's
Yeah.
like how a church is consecrated to hold in the good, this place is desecrated, turning the evil. So, I think Samantha's right.
Yeah, it's so bad that there's not even life in the plants. I couldn't talk to them. I couldn't hear anything from them. It's eerie.
Well, all I said, that really gets us anywhere. What are we gonna do about it?
We need
We think that man on the throne is what controlling the bones, maybe? I mean, if he was the leader,
that's
if he
scary.
killed all them people, then
I think it's suspicious that his bones are the ones not floating. That doesn't sit right with me. I mean, if it was just some weird thing happening, shouldn't his bones also be floating? But his aren't, so when things
So
spread
that
out like
must
that.
mean he probably controls the bones.
What if
he
he's
was
not
the leader
actually
in
dead?
life.
Oh.
We got
Why isn't the guy who was only made out of bones not dead?
again. What plan we gonna try a plan again? First, you want to try your light to. I mean, I figure if it's some evil thing, it'll start getting up and dancing. I suppose.
I mean, I could just shoot it real quick.
Would that make a lot of noise?
Electric blast make a lot of noise.
I think we're gonna get that through this silently one way or another.
Yes, you're basically throwing this bolt of magical force that crashes and basically it breaks through things when it strikes. On top of that, unless you have some other way of doing so, you also have the somatic components, the verbal aspect, and then the motion with your hands and the verbal.
I could ignore that part.
I know you can. But the actual casting the spell and the crashing of the magic into whatever you strike, it would definitely make noise.
I mean, we either we shoot the sucker on the throne and he just falls apart because he's bones and don't do nothing, but at least we know, or if he gets up, starts dancing, and I'm assuming he either starts heading for the door to come at us, so I don't know, goes and hides in there, and then we can go in after him. At least it'll solve a question for us. It's either that or we just start walking in and we got swirling bones over our heads.
That's another problem. We're gonna have to figure out a way to open the door.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do.
Loudly.
Here's what we're going to do. You guys are going to go stand by the door, and you go through this window over here, not the one in the middle, one closest to the door. I'm going to fly, and I'll rush in and open the bar, and then we're going to come in. If something happens with the bones before I get there, I have a spell that will just kind of just pull me away.
Okay. I can stand at the door and wait to cast my beam of light on the skeleton. So when you open it, I can just cast it right on him, and we can just see what happens. And that way, we've got the door open. If he comes running towards us, we can just barricade the door ourselves. We'll all be fine.
Are you sure about that, Lou?
It'll be fine, Gregory. Go.
Let me at least. Here, before you go.
No, Gregory, I do not want to kiss.
Hey, what are you talking? Ain't what I'm gonna do. Just is there something important to you? You wouldn't lose.
On me? Not really.
Right. Here then. I'm gonna take off my holy symbol and I'm gonna slide off one of the little wooden planks with the three little waves on it, sign of Vondra. Hold on to this, all right? And protect your full bit. Whatever's in there. I'm gonna hold it out. Closed hand.
She'll take it trying really hard not to look at him like he's stupid.
And she puts her hand out. I'm gonna put my hand in her hand. And Luna, guidance protect you, Luna. Please don't get in too much trouble. As my hand glows, and so does the small little token, as I cast a little protection from good and evil.
Choose the elementals, obviously.
Obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Be quick. It won't last very long. So I'm making you do this.
We're just going to wait till they're all ready. I see Javen. I see on the side, so I'm just going to assume that's where he's going to be. So I will cast Fly on myself, and then I'll not go straight into it. I'll kind of look inside, and then try to slip through, and then quickly go to the door as fast as I can.
Okay, so you're flat, lifting yourself off the ground, getting yourself to the edge, looking again one more time. Again, you see, with your incredible vision, the end of this room where this still skeleton sits in its chair. You look up and, yeah, you see that sea of bones. Give me a perception check real quick. All right. Your eyes can pierce all darkness, Luna. You can see through the black veils that hide things from most people's vision, but what you see shouldn't be that. You shouldn't be able to see this. But every so often, just this sort of mass of darkness, it can't be darkness, it's something else, just sort of waves between some of the bones, almost like tendrils of sorts, as they cling to the material and dance between one another, as if almost like there is some weird shadow shimmering between them, holding them together, but then they fade, and it just looks like they're floating on their own. But yeah, nothing really assaults you. If you want, you can pull yourself into the building.
I will. I mean, there's nothing really to hide by. I guess I'll. There's like pillars, like foundations. So I guess I'll like try to sneak my way through them to the door. I'm not just like out in the open all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you land, sort of put yourself behind them, looking around the corner, trying to be as quiet as you can, and the only thing that really starts attacking you, Luna, is just that biting cold. When you're in here, surrounded by it, your breath just pours from your mouth like this torrent of fog. It feels like you're standing inside of this big block of ice. But you've felt this before, Luna. In your youth, and even before coming to Oakwell, you've been chased by things from time to time. Whatever your nature is that draws you to Shadow also draws death towards you, often in the forms of lost spirits, something undead. And right now, it clicks with you. This is so familiar. But God, is it so much colder? But carefully, you make your way to the doors, large and definitely heavy from their size. You can see from the way they sort of press up against the inner lining of the frame. You can tell these doors are relatively thick. And yeah, if you want, you can pick up the bar and lift it and move it over. It sort of creaks. It's sort of stuck at first because it looks like a layer of frost has covered it. But with a bit of wedging and shoving, you could easily unlatch this thing and open the doors.
Nothing's moving, right? Everything's like quiet.
The door's open. I say there's something dead in here. Well, that's obvious. There's something floating in the sea of bones, other than bones. Mm-hmm. Like there's a creature in there.
Hearing that, I'm going to
cast Detect Evil and Good and take a look around.
Okay, as you guys begin to pour inside of the Great Hall. Some of you not being able to see too well unless you pull out your torch. Others, well, having your natural vision, able to pick out some fine details.
Gonna have to
Flop
hop
my
off
goggles
this
off.
roof I am. Angles are all bad up here.
Oh, I guess I'll come in too. I know. This door's so damn small.
Yeah, Persephone. With this, what does it look like when you cast Detect Evil and Good?
I closed my eyes for a second, and when I opened them back up again, it actually looks like the entirety of my eyes are slightly, I guess, a slight glow, and then it's my actual vision goes into like almost a grayscale as anything evil or good is highlighted in a various color, brighter, nicer, more appealing colors. The more good it is, and harsher, warmer, rougher colors, the more evil it is.
Awesome. As your senses open up to your surroundings, it really hits you, Persephone, what Greg was mentioning before. How the moment you open your ears and your eyes and your nose, basically everything, to the good and the evil of the world around you, looking for creatures, it hits you harder than anything else. How terribly desecrated the ground, the walls, the ceiling, the furniture, the very earth outside that you've left is. As you're just racked by these terrible sounds, the wind just reaches into your ears.
Oh, God.
And everything around you, you don't see these bones, are a little too high to your vision, but you do see that strange consecration swirling among them. And it's only off in the distance do you just get the slightest little pulse of undead life. But it's not one. It feels like one for a moment before it just seems to undulate and expand without ever truly leaving its place. One undead life that becomes dozens and dozens before twisting back down into a single coil, like a heartbeat, just expanding and retracting.
Which way is that? Is that
It's going from the north.
There's definitely something towards the back. And
Where the background was.
yeah, and it feels like it's like one thing separating to a bunch of things and then coming back in together. It's like coming apart and coming back together. I can't. It's easier to see it. But we should be careful.
Yeah, and every step you're taking, you're holding onto this magic, Persephone. It just keeps coming back again and again. Just the wind reaches into your ears like a scream. The cold starts biting into your flesh and starts numbing you. You can hear these soft whispers all around you, as if there's voices, people talking, but there's no one here. You're continuing to sense this overwhelming desecration.
Gregory, could you hear the screaming wind also?
Yeah, a bit of it.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm a little bit afraid to look at the moment.
It's creepy and it's loud. It's not comfortable. But if I can see something before it comes at us to help you guys out, I'd rather do that than be taken by surprise.
I just know. I'm just got sword in hand, looking around, fucking haunted house. Hello?
I'm just cautiously edging closer, trying to be as quiet as I can.
Javen,
Yeah, with my rattling armor.
Hey, what's going on back there? You alright?
Modem noises reply back.
I'm gonna, now that I get closer to the stage, I'm gonna look closer to the skeleton. See if there's anything coming directly off of him.
Oh yeah, basically bolstering your senses, trying to get a focus on this thing. The moment your eyes fall upon it, you just You don't really see the skeleton. You can kind of make out the shape within, but that's not what your senses pick up on. You just see this swirling mass of darkness, just undulating, reaching out and touching to the walls, some of them climbing up to the ceiling and further than your vision will let you call, and then pulling back into itself. And within, you can just hear these countless moans and cries as it feels like dozens of people are screaming out at once before it pulls back into this single entity, massed around, almost like flesh on this fleshless skeleton, back to one, and then returning to many.
I'm gonna point directly at his gun. It's coming from him. And does it look like a vortex, like things are trying to get out and they can't?
Oh yeah, it looks like everything's sort of swirling and expanding from him to reach out into the walls, and then it just sort of whoosh, coils back around him. Again, just over and over and over.
Something is centered on him, and it looks like whatever used to be on those bones are trying to get out, and they're getting sucked right back in like a vacuum.
Luna, you have this strange connection to death. Do you think perhaps this energy, these spirits that are bound here, do you think perhaps you could rectify that? Maybe without us getting filled full of bones.
I mean, I'm not much of an exorcist. I mean, I help people move on, but that was mostly just helping them deal with what's keeping them here. I can't really forcibly remove them.
Well, I would say whatever vortex is on him is definitely keeping them here. But I wouldn't immediately go in and try to fix that problem. I'm not entirely sure what it is.
If nobody's got an idea,
Better go talk to them. Maybe you can like tell them a bedtime story.
Talk to the weird skeleton man sitting on a throne.
Tell him he's being a bad boy and he needs to go take a nap. I don't know. Do you want me to just shoot it? I'll just shoot it.
I mean, look, I ain't got anything to. I mean, I got something. I could give it a shot. I honestly don't think it'll work, though.
I mean, what is it that you're about to do before you go and get yourself killed?
You know, I can turn away the undead a bit, but I think this thing's on a little bit different level than the things that we've been finding so far. This seems more magic than just undead. And
I mean, we were looking for a source of dark magic. And Luna's riddle did mention a hole, right? Or was a hole of some sort? And that does look like a hole. Through my eye.
Vortex above.
Alright. Samantha just has Eldritch Blast just kind of coiling around her scepter, the green bow just kind of crackling at her side. She's just gonna try to flip through, not the Rolodex, but I guess the Webster's Abyssal Dictionary. Seeing that his skeleton's the only one that's still around, he's really good at talking to people in command. She'll just try to go with, I guess, king or chieftain or something of that nature. If you can understand my words, your presence is not needed here. leave this place.
There's quiet, just the wind blowing through these small holes in the side of this hall. But then,
do the screams around me get louder at all?
oh, they're just constantly screaming as long as the spell's up. It is awful, Persephone.
It's so funny.
Like, Greg's lucky because he only gets like about 6 or 10 seconds of it at a time. You are literally concentrating on this thing that's hurting you. But the bones just sort of twitch, and this head just sort of lifts up towards you. As you see this figure sort of right itself in its chair. It doesn't really look all that menacing. It's simply a skeleton wearing the remnants of a robe. Its teeth and bones gnarled down to the tips as it simply looks up in your direction, but it's hard to tell. There are no eyes in its sockets.
Not needed. I am needed.
I think you offended him.
Me to protect them. The fear. The death that waits outside this hall. I am the only thing that can protect them. I have taken their fear, and now they rest. You want me to leave? You have opened the door. A death will come. None shall leave. None shall get in.
And you hear the doors behind you. Shut.
How did he return that? Just in common, or?
He's just talking in common.
Okay.
Damn. Now he's going to steal our bones as well.
I mean, that's our answer.
You protect your people as you should. But we come here seeking to end this curse on your lands. You have no need for these earthly tethers anymore. As Samantha just seems to be, she's like, her mind is racing, trying to find the next thing to say.
Look, sir, if we fight, you might kill us, but your people gonna get hurt too. All we want is blankets. We just travelers. If you could just show some hospitality, we'd be on the way. We'll leave you to your people. We won't bother you none.
I hear you. I've heard you for years. Scratching at my door. Promising safety in the hunger. Scaring my people. Your lies will not reach me. They are where they cannot be harmed. I guard them. You will not trick me, foul creatures.
As this thing lurches in its seat.
You. Nothing gets in. Nothing gets out.
I didn't think that was going to work.
You're mistaken. We're not infected with Sinkan. We're not like them. We're not.
Yeah, I don't think he's the bargaining type.
You just start seeing my blade starting to glow.
Yep, as Javen starts cracking his knuckles and sort of cracks his... I don't think we're very, very, very past negotiations, Persephone. I look up at the bone swarm at the top. Is it getting agitated?
Oh, you don't see them. They are far off in the dark, unless you're holding like a big old.
I had the super torch. I'm pretty sure I still had the super torch.
You're still holding this giant burning torch in your hands?
I don't know.
It's been an hour.
No one told me I wasn't anymore.
You rested inside.
Yeah, we did a short rest. Yeah.
You didn't carry a campfire.
Then I guess the super torch got. Okay, well we just threw it out. So I guess I just have a normal torch.
As her final play, Samantha digs deep, reaches for just a little tiny spark, little tiny segment of an ember of what she hopes to return back to a beacon. And she wraps her hand around it, trying to find just a little bit of warmth in this ungodly, unholy, iced-over Death Island. And her Eldritch Blast begins to fade as she has to pull her magic together to cast something different. Agitated that now that she's telling the truth, something doesn't believe her. And she just lets her emotions kind of build up inside of her, and she taps into this power and taps into a language she has not spoken in a long time. As she's going to cast a little thaumaturgy.
To make your chin. Actually, no, you still have that, yeah. What do you do then? Your voice begins to boom, the ground begins to shake. What does your thaumaturgy look like?
It isn't so much what it looks like as how it feels. It is a manifestation, the smallest form of manifestation of her true presence, and it sort of begins to make your knees weak and your shoulders heavy, and it almost forces you to want to kneel. And she just says in Celestial, "We are not undead. We are not demons. We are going to be heroes, and you are standing in our way."
Common, Samantha, common.
As not paying heed to Javen, as it seems like all of her eminence is just focused in on this man. Her snakes, which always seem to be looking at members of the party, keeping track of them for her, they're all just staring daggers at this thing, this leader who has failed his people, and she has seen far too many of them. As she just says these words in Celestial, she takes another step forward and begins to conjure up her bow of eldritch energy again. You will know rest, not hunger. And that's all she has to say to him.
As this thing just sits still for a while, you can see his body was rattling every so often as your words carried with this thunderous force behind them. Didn't really look like it was scared, though. It just seemed like it was just the force of your speech. Maybe even the weight of your words. As to everyone else, it's kind of strange hearing Samantha talk in this way. It just sounds like this, almost like a hum that has these slight changes in utteration as it fills and grows with volume, as if like some great choir was singing from her very voice. But not sure if any of you can make out a single word of what she said.
Yes, I totally speak Celestial.
Jitters a bit.
Yes.
Back across the party. We're doing it.
You can see like the bow beginning to form at Samantha's side, but she doesn't have it at the ready. It's not in front of her, as she's just watching this thing intently.
Does it look like there's any change about the skeleton through Percy's sight? No.
I mean, it looks like a skeleton.
I mean, yeah.
It's got a skeleton
Clear
face.
all of a sudden. Starts to smile.
Its
with
face.
I don't know if it's dark magic aura was reacting or anything. That's what she's watching for.
Oh, is it?
Now it turns into light magic. And now it's a good skeleton.
I see now. You are all lost. You fear something great. You fear the death. I will give you shelter in these walls. I will take your fear away, just as I have my people. Just as I have my people.
As you see, pouring from its mouth as its jaw just hangs open. That strange, what only Persephone could truly perceive, and Luna in small glimpses, this black fog pouring from its form and whirling around it and beginning to fill the air where basically it once was, and these things start spreading throughout the walls, up the ceiling, down the floor, pulsing across your feet. Those standing in the way, sort of stepping around it, you feel this thing just immensely cold, as if it were just a lack of light, of life, of everything. As the skeleton form just starts to shake and jitter in its chair and tries to pull itself up. What do you do?
It is beyond hope as Samantha's bow pulls up in front of her and she begins to cast Eldritch Blast at him.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna pop my divine sense as he's starting to stand up. I'm assuming I just see pure evil as usual.
Mm-hmm. After the initial terrible scream that rides along the wind that assaults you, but you're ready for it after the third time's the charm. You're looking at this thing, and you're seeing within this black vortex, this maelstrom extending from its form, you can hear the sound of screams coming from within, tormented souls, as they extend out from his body, only one of them seeming to stop and coil around himself, before pulling upon some of the darkness back, sort of building in size. But as your senses continue to hold on to it, because I think it stays for the end of your next turn. So it lasts for about 10 seconds or so.
But as soon as I say it, that's all I need to see, as my sword just ignites in flame. Goldish fire just envelops the blade.
Okay.
Damn. What'd you say to him, Sam? Mantho?
He was really angry.
As this thing begins to pull itself forward in the chair, you can see, bit by bit, its arm falls to the ground and shatters. Other arm falls to the ground, pieces of it falling apart, until only really its ribcage, its head, and its robe remain.
You shall lose your fear. I shall take it.
As, in your rousing success, the skeleton falls into pieces. But once again, taking its place is this horrible maelstrom. Ooh. As all around you, this pulse of shadow that now reaches up the walls, clasping on the bones, some of them begin to tether them together, almost surrounding them in these almost cocoons before the limbs rearrange themselves into these not quite right patterns. It looks like they're trying to imitate the shape of people, but they're not. They're missing pieces, and some of them are almost in the wrong places. What's up?
Is this happening just in front of us as, after
It's happening above you.
It's above us. So only Luna would be able to see it if she's looking.
So
Yeah, you guys can make out the vague shapes of things moving, but Luna's really the only one who has a perfect view. But other than that, you also see Gregory was the first one to see it with Persephone, but as this maelstrom manifests in front of you, you can see every so often warbling in the air, one of these castaway shades of darkness suddenly begins to manifest and pour itself out into this twisted humanoid form before this almost ethereal vapor pulls itself back together, and you're greeted, rather surrounded, by several vague human shapes.
Let's go then.
And above you,
The words of him saying he saved his people and us knowing probably what that means. Greg can feel the anger. Right.
1 second. As from above you, about 40 feet or so high, just on the edge of some of your visions as darkness turns to dim. You see these other shapes, again, these strange collections of the same dark matter that poured out from this maelstrom, clinging to bones as these things slowly but surely begin to descend down. These strange shapes, made of these collective, looks like some weird miasma, but clinging to the broken pieces of the ivory within, as you can hear them clattering. And within these swirling vortexes, you can see the bones actually twirling within in almost a strange, like, merry-go-round of forgotten flesh. As the terrible maelstrom spins and pours on, the air becomes oh so cold. As, let's see... Okay. Omen time. Hey guys, it's almost 9:30 my time, 10:30 your time. Do you want to call this quits now, save it as a cliffhanger for the next session, or do you want to press on to the night and fight some terrible thing?
I want to fight some terrible thing.
I'm good to press on.
Yeah, I have a day off tomorrow. I'm good. I'm here for it.
Unless, I mean, you know, I know you're... Are you going to call out sick again, buddy? I don't want you to stay up later than you have to, because I know you have to work.
Yeah, it's down to you, Omen.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine calling it here. It's a great cliffhanger.
I'll play this for like 9 hours if you let me.
Yeah. Same.
If you have battle extravaganza that might go on for the next hour and a half, then I'd say just go ahead and call it.
I want John to be here for it if it's going to be like a super long
Yeah,
thing.
that's true too.
Yeah, he's in Ireland. He doesn't get to enjoy
He should
games
be
with
back
us.
next week.
He enjoys his Ireland. He doesn't get to enjoy this.
I'll say this.
What about you guys on the stream?
Oh,
You guys
here we
want
go.
to?
Let's roll initiative.
Nope, God's decided.
Damn.
God's decided.
Fuck.
Ooh.
Ooh, you bitch. We're going to die. We're going to die. We are going to die.
I actually wanted to sleep.
Ooh, Clyde's
Okay, Clyde.
Hang on.
We are so
This is,
going to die.
I feel like this is the best initiative roll I've had in weeks.
How initiative EV we are.
Oh, you guys have been sitting watching this thing.
Did I haven't?
Alright, I didn't realize...
I'll use my...
I didn't realize how intense this island was, so I'm gonna go ahead and just respec my character really quick. I didn't bring my switch weapon. Let me see here.
Oh, fuck.
What is that?
Well, I've dropped concentration on my good evil sight. So I can stop hearing screams of terror
Oh
and horror.
yeah, the screaming
and
has
death.
since stopped.
Do we want to do a quick bathroom break before we...
Anyone who has to pee, go pee, because we're going to be pressing on into combat.
Just went like 10 minutes ago. I'm good to go. El Capitan.
Are you sure, Brennan? Are you sure? Sometimes I worry about
I have
you.
to pee in like 5 minutes.
Ooh.
At least you somehow managed to burn all my nat ones, Nick.
Yeah, you're welcome for that. Granted, I burned like one of your crits on like the next roll, but
Oh, thanks.
you should have like 3 more crits in you.
Yeah, I think this isn't going to be an unarmed strike battle.
This Bloodborne. Yeah, I thought so.
Good music, baby. I love me some Bloodborne music.
So good. That is my go-to horror soundtrack. It's like, oh, I thought we were dealing with like, I don't know, just
An
like Dawn of the
ocean
Dead.
of bones.
Not Bloodborne. Not From Software difficulty. No.
Your squeaky door scared the cat.
Uh-oh.
Bitch can take it. She's fine.
No, I mean, it scared my cat.
Oh. I know you're talking
Alright.
about my cat, Luna. Okay.
Do we got everyone back for this? Assuming so? Peter? Nick?
Nick?
I'm here.
But
Alrighty. Coming off the top of initiative, the air becomes this deadly chill as you see this strange swirling vortex of blackness coalescing and collecting itself where the skeleton once was. You can still see more of these souls pouring out, but some of them just seem to fizzle off into nothing. Clyde, standing up on this ledge, about 5 feet off the ground where you currently are, you see up above you, now descending down, these masses of bones surrounded by darkness, as well as these other creatures closer to the ground, but still hovering. It seems like their lower halves have been all but removed, instead replaced by this long wisping tail, as they reach out with red eyes and these ethereal-looking claws towards you guys. What do you do?
Clyde just had his bow drawn, ready this entire time, obviously. Oh, they're coming in from above! As he points his bow up, as a little red dot appears on the underside of its leg, as he will fire off a... I can find his butt. Pew! 15.
Ooh, let's see. Yep, a 15 will connect as you're looking up at this tall skeletal thing kind of sliding down from above.
14 damage.
Yeah, as you aim your bow, and your arrow goes flying through the air, crashes into its leg, and actually strikes into one of the bones with, all due to Clyde's keen accuracy. You see the bone actually fly out from this miasma and like clatter to the ground elsewhere, as it looks like he just tore out part of this thing's leg, but the way it continues to descend, it looks like a chunk of its mass has been removed, but it still falls not too abated. Let's see. Yeah.
Magic bow.
Not a magic bow, it's a masterwork.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm. +1 non-magic.
Yeah, as Clyde is just going to hop off his little... I guess that's just a rug. He's just going to hop up these barrels and sort of balance on top of the barrel, trying to get a better vantage point so we can see over Mitty and Persephone as these things are coming in. So he's going to start drawing another arrow, but that's his turn, as he's going to use half his movement to protect himself a little bit with his little nimble defense.
All right.
Mitty cannot bite. He is 40 feet up in the air.
Like Persephone.
Mitty grows a 40-foot snout and bites the guy.
All right, is that your turn, Clyde?
That's him.
All right, Clyde, as you're balancing yourself on these barrels, you see off in the corner of your eye another one of these things descending down from the darkness as it seems to catch you, the largest, quickest, movest creature closest to it. As you see its form slowly but surely descending down, about 10 feet closer to you, going down to about 20, before it stops in the air, and you can see the bones composing its form start to shake and twirl and spin rapidly before the entire mass comes flying away from the shadow and tries to crash down into you. See, as he's going to use his Gale.
Ooh, 23 will certainly hit.
A barrage of bones comes smashing into your body, Clyde, almost trying to knock you off, but thankfully your natural balance on these barrels are not too slippery, although they are covered with frost. You're able to bear your claws into them and keep your stance. But as the bones begin to clatter to the ground next to you, they sort of stop in midair as from them, the breath of this darkness extends as this creature now rests basically at your level.
You ugly bastard.
And that's its turn. Ooh. One of these malformed spirits now pulling itself out of the thin air until this darkness manifests into its form, comes after the closest creature. Javen, you see this thing's form twitching and writhing in the air as if it were made out of vapor. You can hear within this low growl, this inhuman is the slightest cry of pain as it tries to reach out and touch you with its hand. You can see this vapor starting to spread out as it tries to almost reach into your nostrils and mouth, as if trying to draw your very breath from you.
Ooh. Take me to dinner first.
As you take 8 necrotic damage, give me a Constitution saving throw.
Oop.
As this thing reaches inside, you see its hand become vapor, and as it pulls back, you can feel your very breath leaving you as you take not only 8 necrotic damage, but your maximum hit points are decreased by 8.
Okay, hang on. Alright, everyone start noting your max.
As slowly but surely, the cold begins to take over.
Ooh, that's a new sensation.
Let's see. That's all he can do as this other twisted specter goes after the thing closest to him, sliding through the air and going after you, Persephone. This thing. As he's trying to reach out toward you with his hand.
No!
But how do you defend yourself against this thing? This large spear. It looks like there's no real way to knock him back. He's a sort of ethereal form. How do you defend yourself?
I don't need to knock him back. I have a giant turtle shield.
As you put your turtle shield in the way, and you can feel almost like liquid, like a stream, a river is pressing into this this shield. You can see the form sort of spill over the edge and reform itself.
Okay, it's not great. Not great at all.
As it comes to you, Persephone, surrounded by with this creature at your side, even though it doesn't quite touch you with its grasp, you could feel the cold air around you starting to draw your breath away, and your body's starting to feel numb. Give me a Constitution saving throw. But thankfully you managed to shake away. It feels like the air itself is becoming so cold, your body becoming heavier, but maybe the heat of battle is keeping you warm as you manage to shake off that cold. What do you do?
I take a look at the gap between Luna and Jay, and I just muster up the courage that I can. I'm gonna try to... Just with Myrtle in hand, I'm gonna pull back and hope I can fend myself from the oncoming blows as I try to pull away.
Okay, as you pull away, this thing's gonna try and reach around your shield. You can see its ethereal form almost moving through the material. As you're holding your shield up, you can see sort of reforming through it, this hand reaching through, trying to grasp you.
No.
But you managed to pull yourself out of the way just in time before it can even get to you.
Awesome. Do I still have to make another con save?
No.
Awesome. Well then, with that, I am going to cast a Moonbeam on these guys. Where's my circle? Where's my circle? Here's my circle. Have
The one
circle.
time where 40-foot tall moonbeam actually matter.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody uses flying
Indeed.
enemies.
As you summon forth this beam of radiant light, like a spotlight radiating these creatures, they immediately writhe inside as some of the shadow begins to disintegrate away, but not quite taking hold yet.
Okay, yeah, I think this is a good idea. If I just keep my distance, it should be fine. All right, keep them off me, and then I can maneuver that around them. And that's gonna be my turn.
Okay, Mitty.
Oh, Mitty! Mitty's going to run over as Clyde gets clawed by this thing or stabbed by a bone fragment. He's going to run over and try to grab up like a big old dog to a bone and try to rip the bone out of the thing's leg. And Andy, get the fuck down. Go!
Andy wants to play Mitty.
As Mitty attacks with a mighty bite with advantage.
So Clyde is standing on a 5-foot ledge, and he's also standing on top of these barrels, which are about 5 feet up. So he's 10 feet in the air.
Oh, okay.
So Minnie might have to find a way to get up to help Clyde.
Can he jump?
What's your strength score, Mitty?
12.
Yeah, I'd say if you get a bit of a run, you could probably reach up just high enough to catch onto him.
He just tears across the floor, skittering across like dogs do. He's scratching up the hardwood floors as he jumps at the last second, just enough, trying to get his snout at the leg of these things as he tries to bite down on his leg, trying to pull him to the ground away from Clyde.
All right.
Ooh, 25 to hit.
Ooh, a 25 will connect. As that, you, just like the last one, you reach up and catch in the leg and you rip it down. And you could feel this veil of shadow get pulled with it for a moment before it pulls back. As this creature, you have a bone in your mouth, Mitty. You're holding it, and you have your prize, but this creature remains exactly where it is.
Just hangs there for a little bit, trying to gnaw on this bone. Eventually lets go, though.
I say the bone, you pull it out. Basically, you rip it out of this thing's like form, and you hold on the ground, but the rest of it doesn't come with you.
Gnaws on the bone a bit, spits it out, and that's his turn.
Alrighty. Ooh, okay. as you hold this burning light in your hand, Gregory, it illuminates this massive darkness that now reaches out towards you. As this thing's gonna try and drain some of your life.
Oh, shit. Oops.
As it reaches out trying to get to you, but the moment you move your sword in the way, this glowing nimbus of light immediately pulls itself back. As if it were very deterrent. But it remains where it is. As Gregory, this thing, you're fighting it back with your sword, trying to keep it at bay, but you can't help but feel this cold coming over you, almost numbing your body. Give me a Constitution saving throw.
Alright. Fuck!
Ooh. As you feel this numbness spreading through your arms and your legs, you can still fight, you can still move, but you're more sluggish, Greg. Until the start of your next turn, you have 10 less movement speed.
As cold starts to eke through my body, I know one way to battle pain and things like this, things that wrestle away the control of myself, and that is to just give myself up to the anger. Bottle knows it in here, as everything, my peripheral vision starts to gray out as I just focus on this thing in front of me, as my anger starts to take fold. Luna, the little token on your body, light fades as I go into a rage, as I just swing out across this thing. As the last little bit of my reason starts to fade a bit, I try to do a measured strike as I try to cut through its body. Just a normal swing. To hit. With my magical greatsword.
24 will definitely hit.
As I cut through its body, swinging from left to right, just cutting into this pillar of wood in the middle of the...
Okay, as you're basically carving through this pillar, it's already pretty rotten, so you can actually carve through it pretty easily. And you carve through this thing's body, it strikes. You see the form begin to bend around your sword as if it were gas, but that light glowing off of it immediately begins to sizzle up its form. As half its body just seems to disintegrate away, as really all that's left are just remnants of the shadow that begin to slowly reform in its place.
Did it try to dodge me at all, or make any type of defensive maneuver, and did my blade sink easily through?
Oh yeah, it didn't. You definitely, with how quickly you swung, it was hard to tell if it was really trying to dodge. It was just lurching after you moments ago. But with how your sword cut into its body, you could see that the light itself was actually burning away its form, as if it were having a more effect you think than just swinging a sword through it.
Yeah, seeing that one strike almost took this thing down, I'm just going to pull my blade straight out of the wood and just try to carve upwards into its body, trying to cut it in half and just disperse its body. No!
As you swing down, that cold immediately takes up your arm, and it sort of locks your arm in place as this thing has enough time to pull itself away from the glowing beacon of light as sword comes crashing down to the ground.
As I just keep focused on this thing, and that's my turn.
Alright, Javen. One of these creatures reached out and seemingly drew the very breath from your throat, and now you find the air is so much colder, your body is... it's becoming heavier. Give me a Constitution saving throw. As this coldness begins to spread and your legs and arms feel number, your movement speed is reduced by 10 until the beginning of your next turn.
Oh, just take me to dinner before you take my breath away. Yeah. Steven sort of shivers a bit, sort of thinks back and reaches towards the flask, the one thing that could really warm him up. The only alcohol that really is able to even affect him. See, takes a small sip, sort of closing his eyes, letting him embrace sort of fieriness of this Dragon Dew flask. So I need to make a constant. Oh, consistency is key.
As you take a sip of this thing, you feel the warmth spreading within you, and though it doesn't quite restore your breath, it does fill you with a new sense of life. But things begin to stir and become dizzy around you as you are poisoned.
That's fine. As well.
Fighting
He sort of like opens his eye and then he sees Mitty. Sort of grumbles something about collateral as he quickly 90-degree turns and as he finishes his drink, fire breath. That's an action on these guys.
That guy is 40 feet up in the air.
Yeah, this guy is currently 40 feet up in the air.
And
Nice. As you turn with this alcohol potent in its strength, still basically dripping between your lips, you turn and open your mouth, and this gout of flame comes surprisingly close to you, Luna, just sort of brushing past you, your hair sort of pulling with the vacuum of this thing, as it envelops this creature.
See, it's a good thing that you didn't say it singed my hair, because I would kill Javen.
you can try.
I mean, you are poisoned.
Oh, true.
Ooh. As this
I
creature,
do have stunning strike though, and 4 attacks.
as this creature gets consumed in this bright, fiery light, it pulls itself away on instinct, just allowing some of the flames to lick across its body. As when the flames fade and you can see some of the ice has been thawed away, it still rises. Looks hard to say if it's unscathed, but it doesn't look like it's taken. Well, it doesn't seem like it's deterred anymore. Let's see. Nah.
Shit, that is a big difference.
Is that your turn, Javen? You got any more thing you also want to do?
Thought these things don't like fire. Tell me my turn.
Okay. As it comes down to this entity, let's see. This one. Ooh. Coming down from the darkness, slowly but surely sinking in its place. This thing comes down about, let's see, 20 feet or so, before it stops in the air, turning towards the closest creature. And Samantha, from above, this flurry of bones come launching from this whirlwind of shadow, as they all try to basically pound into you like several projectiles at once. But with your armor up,
of things coming from above. So
okay, as they come, as they sort of bouncing off the ground around you, smacking into the ground. But as they strike the ground, that shadow again rises from its form as it finds a place right next to you. But that's its turn. Luna, you feel that protection from that little emblem fading, but you still have your wings on your back. And you're surrounded once more by death. What do you do?
So I want to go up about 10 feet.
Okay.
And then, goodbye, friends. So I just go over here. And, Oh, I did not see that person right there. Don't go over there. Let's see, I'll go... God, I don't want to go near the swirling vortex of evil. I'll go, like, right here. And then, yeah.
Okay.
And I'll, like, grab into the wings on my back and, like, pull out just these 2 feathers that just seem to change colors every so frequently, and shoot 2 chaos bolts. One at the person that attacked Samantha, and one at the one that attacked Javen.
Alright. Give me those attacks.
Do it. I'll use my Demon Restoration to attack the one at Samantha with advantage.
Okay. Ooh, that'll definitely connect. as you're able to basically weave your magic up and over this strange long fire pit and easily strike into this creature's strange wavering form. Give me that damage. 10, 3, and 2. So fire or cold?
Do fire.
All right, as the bolt becomes this crackling bolt of flame, strikes into its body. You see the bones scatter for a moment, some of them scorched, before some of the smoke that rises from them gives new mass to this thing's strange wavering figure. As, while magical, it seems like this thing is not quite deterred. No flesh to burn away. Any other ones striking down at that guy? Okay. That will also connect. Give me that damage. 1 or 6. Acid or poison?
Let's do acid.
Poison him!
As this spray of acid comes shooting out from this bolt, it strikes in this creature's body, sort of sliding in as if his form were liquid at first, before it sort of bursts within him, and Javen had to step back as these drips of acid come dropping down from its ethereal form. Takes a considerable, a decent amount of damage as this thing's form begins to waver every so often, but then you see the rest of the acid within this bolt pour down to the ground, leaving it. As it is left, let's see, still floating and still strong.
Then, let's see. 2 more sorcery points and Eldritch Blast the one that attacks Samantha.
Okay. See, 14. Both of those will connect. As you're picking up, I'm assuming, like rocks off the ground and throwing them at these guys, charging with magic energy.
Just more feathers, just regular feathers.
Okay. Throwing these, launching these magical feathers at this creature. You see it strike into its body as this thing twists and writhes. You see where it actually strikes past the bone and gets into the shadow. The shadow actually makes these large holes as if they get disintegrated and evaporated. As this thing falls to pieces.
Oh cool, I killed it. So yeah, that's my turn.
Okay, Samantha, this thing that just once accosted you gets assaulted by an assortment of magic before falling into these useless pile of bones on the ground.
Well done, Luna. Thank you. Do I need a con save for you?
Oh. For a moment, everything was chilly. I was about to feel like your body was getting numb and colder, but the moment this thing fell, the cold faded a little bit. It's still terribly cold in here.
She is going to... What's the range on that, actually? If you don't know. Oh, Jesus, 90 feet. That's really far. With the bright light from Sacred Weapon.
Yeah, he's, I'd say you just see him on the remnants of your vision. He's a little far away, and he's also 40 feet up still, but with the light surrounding him, basically he's surrounded by this veil of dim light. You can make out the shapes of his bones moving.
So you've got that one, Gregory, or do you want me to take care of it?
Got it.
Alright. She's just gonna call on the Black Snake of Hex and throw it forward.
It's just hanging out.
Yeah, he's just hanging
Mind his
out.
own business. Got shot by a bow. Lost a leg bone.
No, that's what we're going for. Fuck you, double Hex, double Eldritch Blast. Get fucked. Get fucked.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah. Let's see. Give me some of that damage as you send this dark snake to coil around this form, but the snake gets lost sort of within this miasma as it clings to a bone, but the bone just sort of twirls aimlessly. You're able to pull some strength from it, but
As he is healed 4.
give me some damage.
Should I enable the Hex or no?
You hexed him. You cast Hex. You did a Hex. Give me damage. Yeah, as this magical force comes pounding into its body, you can see this snake again trying to cling and pull, but the moment that your force magic shatters the bones and dispels all the darkness, it just sort of falls away and fades. As doesn't seem like, well, it maybe drew from whatever strength you wanted to pull. The extra death that is brought about by this eldritch snake that drains the life didn't seem to do anything to this creature, as it simply falls in a pile of bones on the ground.
Would have done 39 damage.
Interesting.
But only did what, 26?
Alright. Was I just to keep Gregory between me and those other things and move my sights down to the one to the south. I think that'll be it for my turn.
Alright, as these bones clatter to the ground, this glowing beam of light that illuminates them begins to sizzle. You can see the slight remnants of these little coils of shadow coming from them immediately get fizzled out as they're just left as these still piles of bones on the ground. But the creature you're staring at, Samantha, continues to follow after his allies, flying rather swiftly, even moving through these pillars as if they weren't even there, up towards you and Gregory, but you're the one in its sight as it reaches back its hand. It reaches out towards you, then pulls itself away for a second as it reaches up towards your throat, right where that plant is wrapped so firmly, as it's going to attack with disadvantage. Absolutely. Get back there.
It attacks with initiative.
Yep.
Yeah. Got him.
Seeing it
as this thing
almost kind of catch me off guard, the way it kind of moved around the pole. It moved faster than I expected, but thankfully Persephone's Molly seemed to have saved me.
Okay. As last but not least, this other creature descending down from the darkness comes around this side, lowering itself ever so slightly until it's about 20 feet in the air before again this storm of bones come crashing down, trying to get you from the side, Greg.
Come on in.
Assuming a 16 don't do it?
Just barely able to deflect it with my sword as I just draw the blade back the last second. Some bones just nick me a little bit. Not enough to
Some bouncing off your armor, but not enough to really get through or do any harmful damage. But as the bones clatter to the ground, they once again scoop up in this rolling maelstrom of darkness as this thing now rises right next to you. Right here. As that's its turn, Clyde, you find one of these creatures now. Well, Mitty took its leg, but it's still floating and looks like it's coming your way. Give me a Constitution saving throw as you feel the air grow colder and colder, your fur bristling up against your body. Oof, as your fur bristles up, you're trying to manage the cold, but that numbness still spreads in. Your movement speed is decreased by 10 feet.
Oh. Nice. Clyde is... He is going to grab a handful of the wall next to him, and although he is freezing his little butt off, his legs, the muscles tighten, and that burst of speed gives way as he just shoots his way up the wall, taking two big handfuls of the wood and then kicking off as he drags himself and then slides down the wood behind this thing. As he lands, he turns and fires an arrow up into its backside with some disadvantage.
Now you're still on that 5-foot railing if you come to the other side, so yep, disadvantage.
Oh shit. Bah! 22.
But regardless, this thing's still just a moving target, and you've practiced against moving targets, Clyde, as you're able to strike true.
Totally forgot to say Hunter's Mark.
See.
If you'll let me, he would have Hunter's Marked.
Nah, Clyde would have Hunter's Marked. I'll give it to him.
He's playing Hunter. Pop him in the back as Mitty tries to jump and bite at him, but he just can't actually move and attack at the same turn, so Is he within range of biting this dude?
I'd say so. Just, yeah, mostly in range. I'll get to him.
Sees the bone guy in front of him, not be able to jump up to get to him, as he just turns and tries to bite and drag this thing away from Javen, ever so slightly. His bite comes ringing out. With advantage still, 22.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at first, Clyde, as your arrow pierces through this mass of bones and darkness, you can see it takes basically most of a collective rib cage out as it comes flying from the mass. It even opens up this hole in its shadowy form. It looks like it shouldn't have done as much damage, but that well-placed strike, you manage to take away a lot of its mass as the bone starts to slowly but surely rise off the ground and return, but it looks wounded. Midi, catching this thing off guard as its focus is almost solely on Javen. You manage to reach up and catch this thing in some of its ethereal form. It's almost like trying to bite into a liquid that's constantly shifting into a vapor as you rip and tear, dealing considerable amount of damage, but this thing is not quite phased. As you pull away, trying to rip out the tendons and make this thing fall, it does not, as there are really no legs supporting this thing, only the malice that carries it through the air.
And I'm assuming that probably takes more movement than half with the slowiness on him, so I don't think he's able to use his dodgy.
Mm-hmm.
That's his turn.
Alright. As this entity, torn apart, but still very much intact with the rest of its bones holding it together, it turns around towards you, Midi. Actually, no, it goes down to Clyde. You're still attacking it. Turns around and just begins to descend. As this time, it's a little too close. It doesn't launch all of itself at once, but you can see the remnants of its bones begin to rise into the shadows before suddenly dropping on top of you, as it's going to make 2 attacks. As it tries to slam its only physical form into you.
Ooh, that'll hurt.
As it seems like the chunk of a skull comes crashing down, swirling around and crashing into the side of your head. As another one comes swinging down, but still too quick, able to dodge it.
A bit of blood just trickling down the side.
Okay, and as this thing is basically beating down into Clyde, some of you can see from within, not within the radius of light, but from where those bones fell around you, Samantha, the ones that fell by, looks like, Luna's magic, you can see a hushed breath of that shadow rise up from the ground and pulling itself back towards the northern side of this hall, enters this maelstrom as it undulates and pulses and undulates, begins to react. As the creature, perturbed by Javen and now having Midi clawing at his side, turns to this creature gnawing on his form, and it just reaches down, trying to grab at you, Midi.
Ooh, just barely get him.
Midi, give me a con save.
Midi, no!
He's got it.
But fortunately, as this thing reaches down into your fur, into your flesh, and tries to rip out some of your life, that terrible cold taking over, you manage to pull yourself away just in time before it can take the rest of your life. As you take damage, but your breath is still yours. Comes down to this creature inside of this beacon of light. It begins to writhe as the light takes over its form, burning away the darkness as it needs to make a con save with disadvantage. How's that? Post your moonbeam again. I want to see it. I want to see it.
Okay. Here it be. It'd be here.
Okay.
Too good.
Okay, yep. As these ghostly flames begin to carve up its body, the light replacing the darkness as it gotta make a con save. As it does not make it, as you see suddenly this light surrounding it tears away at its form, leaving it just a small shade, just mostly its upper body left, as it pulls itself away from the light to the closest creature.
Oh no,
As the shadow
what I wanted.
returning. As it just reaches out and just tries to grasp onto you to replace what it's lost.
Oh yeah.
As his hand reaches through the shield you raise and reaches into your chest, and you just feel your breath leave you as it rips out. But you manage to catch some of it, but God, it feels so cold as you take 6 necrotic damage. Give me a Constitution saving throw twice.
2. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it?
Okay. Ooh. Let's see. Okay. As the breath that you hold in your chest, Persephone, remains strong as this thing tears away at your life. trying to keep yourself focused and not lose yourself in this life drain takes away your focus from your spell.
You should have +1 to it, so you should have a 10.
Yeah, I have a separate.
Afterwards.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I made a separate one for my little chitin.
As you feel, Persephone, your breath leaving you, your focus leaving, a familiar cold sensation basically sends its way like a lightning bolt up your arm as the spell ring catalyst helps you hold on to that last remnant of focus as your beam of light remains.
Hi, this is fine.
So it comes down to you, Persephone.
No, I do not want to risk that again, so I'm just gonna use my action to just move it closer and sit and wait. That'll be my action. Yeah, that'll be my turn.
Okay, as you just gather yourself and pull this light closer to you, surrounding this shade once again in this burning ghostly flame, Mitty, you feel as this thing's now somewhat in your reach, trying to reach down and smack into Clyde, but pulling away just so slightly. You feel this familiar cold surrounding you as these things start to pull the very breath from you and numb your form. Give me a con save.
It's looking at the wrong dude. But he's so strong.
But your fur is so warm, Mitty. This thing tried to reach out and take your life, but you wouldn't let it. Your heat is your own, as you are not numbed and you are not slowed. What do you do?
Seeing this thing still beating on his buddy now that it's lowered itself a little bit, Mitty can get at him as he just gets up into these bones and just tries to gnaw and bite as much as he can, biting at him.
Ooh. How do you want to do this, Mitty?
Just reaches up right into the rib cage and like bites the back of the spine as he rips it out. All the ribs just fall out with it as it seems like he just pulls out the majority of this thing's mass and just clatters it to the...
As it falls, the rest of its pieces fall. You can see the shadow trying to reach up to catch onto it, but it stops and fades away as all it falls to the ground are a clatter of bones.
Mitty just turns, getting in between Clyde and this thing, turns and just starts growling like crazy at the time. That's turn.
Okay. As Gregory, this creature that you carved almost clean through with your burning blade, reaches down and grabs where it once was, well, one whole piece. You see the other half of it fading away, no longer reconnecting, as it looks up to you and just reaches forward through the light and just tries to grab at you.
Oh, that'll just barely get me.
This time, you can see some of its form carving away as it reaches past your glowing blade, the light burning it, but it doesn't seem to care. As give me a con save as you take the 10 necrotic damage.
Fuck.
And you feel as it reaches into your chest, it pulls out some of that breath as your maximum hit points are lowered by 10.
Alright.
As Gregory, all around you, you could feel, maybe it's just the thing took your breath, maybe it's just the chilling aura of these creatures. It's getting colder and colder and colder. Give me a con save.
There we go.
As this, from before, Greg, your body was numbed by this thing's chilling aura, and as these things gather, it gets colder and colder, but just in that moment, you manage to find some warmth within, and you fight off this chill.
That's maybe why this thing was able to get a good grasp at me as I stab my sword next to my side to block the flying bones of this other thing trying to bash into me as it claws into me. I reach down, take the sword with both hands as it sort of stuck in the wood next to Samantha, and one mighty cleave, I just swing all the way across as it cuts through, seeing that this little pillar is sort of rotted, cut through the edge of the pillar as the wood just splinters, as I just cut all the way across these three individuals. Hopefully, as I'm going to use my DM inspiration, as I swing with Great Weapon Master on the first one, putting all my strength into its side, trying to obliterate it with a single strike.
Starting with this guy?
So, starting with the guy to my right.
Alright. Give me that swing. As you are reckless, Greg, your motions are wide, you're cold but not frozen, as you're just swinging with all your might, And this thing pulls away just for a moment, just sliding next to your sword until the light basks on it as you barely connect with the shadowy form and carve clean through it.
I carve through its form.
As the darkness is shattered in one fell swoop.
And it's the wood, as I splinter my sword through the wood of this pillar as it continues to cleave through. Pillar slows it down a bit, and I readjust the blade at the last second, trying to cut through this thing's form, not with great weapon man. Ooh.
That'll connect.
14 of that guy.
Because you take the darkness with the light and it's gone.
As I just twist my hips, turn my blade, and force all the strength I can into this last guy as I just continue cleaving on as Great Weapon Master cleaving to the backside of this guy. Ooh, there we go.
That'll connect too.
As you can see, as just the radiant light cuts through. Let's see if he dies. 26.
As you carve into this thing, tearing through its form, you see the whole thing get obliterated, all but this spinning head of Shroud, this shrouding shade darkness, as it barely clings to life.
Force them on! Force them on! That's my turn. As I just step a little bit closer to try to get in between it and Spantha, but I am slowed on up.
As Javen, it comes down to you. Your breath consumed one of these creatures in bright light, but it seemed like the fire only did so much. The air is so cold, these spirits so chilling. Flames can only extinguish so much.
Sort of hopping back and forth. Feeling him losing his sense of balance a bit, but he's sort of used to it. Just sending out haymakers. Trying to hit stuff, but... I don't know, those misty forms. Trying to hope he hits something solid. There's two attacks on the one in front of him.
This is where we find out Javen's actually a multi-class.
As you swing out at this creature and you see your form go through its hazy image and strike, basically carving a hole through it until you realize, oh, your eyes are seeing double. This drunken state's not really good to fight in, so you swing and counter, and that second strike connects. Javen, I have a question for you. A normal man's fist would pass through these things almost unharmed, just barely changing their form, but yours don't. What do they do when they strike into this creature's ethereal form? As you've got some special punches, boy.
Oh yeah. Some internal boxing mitts. Gee, this really brings up the question. Is key match? Is it psionic?
Oof.
The real question is, if you have ki flowing through your body, this energy that guides your strikes and makes you move faster than normal, what's it look like when your fists, empowered by this, strike into an ethereal being like this? Where a normal sword would, like a sword cutting through it would be like watching a sword cut through water. It just sort of wavers and changes. But your fist connects soundly, as if it were solid. What does it look like?
This is why I have to think about this now. Darn us fighting.
You're supposed
not
to
real
obsess
things.
over it.
Oh, I am. Darn me. Shame Peter for not thinking about all his clever text.
Ding ding.
Yeah, ding ding as the bell goes off. Bing bong.
Oh my god!
Bing bong.
Bing bong. As the first strike he's doing it wildly, not really focusing, but knowing that, trying to aim in between. If he's seeing double or an uppercut, could probably hit it. And as he's punching up, you see his fist connects, and then the mist sort of forms together, and it keeps, and his fist seems to push the mist up and up and up, and seems to knock it away. His fist not really going through the mist, but more so impacting it somehow. Sort of gives a cheeky little grin. Gotcha.
As give me that damage roll. Nice. As you pound in this creature, this pulse of solidity runs through its misty form. You can almost hear it crack for a moment as it lets out this terrified screech as you deal a hefty amount of damage to this creature with a single strike.
I was sort of catching it run. I guess it's not really running. Trying to follow up on my other two. See if I can. Put it down. Wild punch. Wild punch again.
As your first wild punch comes swinging down on the momentum of the last one, as you do connect with it, although barely, somewhat driven by your drunken state, but able to find, solid resistance in this form. Ooh, how do you want to kill it?
Oh. The first strike's of uppercutting it, sort of compressing it together, and the crunch sort of swinging wildly as he tries to go forward, seeing its sort of compressed, form, making it smaller but easier to hit. There's not so much double visioning now as he hits solid.
As you knock it down in the air and then you volleyball him?
Yep.
That's awesome. As this thing comes crashing to the ground, it actually hits the ground with impact before it disperses into this ball of black miasma, then fades.
Well, that was pretty cool.
And then I still have the 12, right?
Yeah, the 12 would come down if you're swinging your tail at this creature. Just barely would miss.
Guess I better look at what I'm trying to hit. See, turns around and faces this guy.
Okay.
That'll be my turn.
Let's give me a con save.
Oh no, my speed. Oh no, my speed.
As maybe the moment you struck, there was a split second of sobriety to your motions, your actions, but now, as you find yourself on your feet, you're still sort of teetering back and forth, still in an intoxicated state.
So I don't lose 10 more, I'm just,
You're just drunk.
You're trying not to be drunk anymore.
Oh, yeah!
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Right. Creature.
He's a little drunky boy.
I was just losing more speed.
Oh, there's only one left alive. Fuck.
As Luna, after a few moments of fighting these creatures, you see one of them floating in this beam of ghostly flame. The other one just ahead, basically trying to regrow its form after Gregory just this sweeping cut. What do you do?
They look like they're reforming.
What's that?
Sorry, you said that they looked like they were reforming or trying to reform?
So this one, basically, Greg's glowing sword managed to cast away all the darkness that makes it up, except it's barely holding on. It's basically literally just a head of etherealness trying to regrow its form, get some sort of etherealness back to its, some structure to its, structureless form. The other one is currently being burned by this glowing silver light. But both are not in a good way.
I look up. What's the Sea of Bones doing?
The Sea of Bones, as they descended, you can see there's still more of them up there, sort of collecting themselves slowly but surely. As you've been watching this thing, I guess you can see with your crazy good vision, after this maelstrom swallowed some of the darkness that fell from these bones, those that weren't cast in this bright light, begins to pulse again, and you can see some of it slithering its way up toward the ceiling and catching onto more bones, holding them together.
I don't trust that, so I'm going to shoot this one real quick with Ultra Blast, then I'm going to shoot that one and one at the other one in the light.
Okay. Ooh, as it's a little difficult to make your shot, Luna. You're shooting through Samantha and trying to get around Gregory and not hit that damn glowing sword of his, but fortunately, with your ability to bend your magic and get around the most troublesome of cover, you're able to launch this tiny little black feather and strike true as you pierce through his head and the darkness disperses.
Man, shoot the other guy. Terrible.
Ooh, as this time you're trying to shoot around your friends. You have the height to your advantage, which is easy, but maybe it's just the spotlight glowing on this thing. It's writhing and throwing itself all around. You can't quite get a good aim on it as the bolt strikes into the ground.
Yeah, it's Percy's fault.
Always. You're just gonna float away from the swirling wall of darkness. Then that's my turn.
Okay, as Samantha, all the creatures around you have been slain, thanks to your friends and your protector Gregory, but one of them remains, reaching out towards Persephone through this veil of bright silver light, and behind you, that black maelstrom continues to undulate, swirl, and, well, do maelstrom stuff.
Do maelstrom stuff. Typical maelstrom stuff.
Sing a song.
Yeah, my snakes just kind of come together around my head as I was looking up at this one, assaulting Persephone, seeing it, being able to reach through her shield. They just begin to conjure magic in their mouths, just 6 little green orbs that seem to focus together into just one strong beam. As I'll just blast this dude twice, Death Star style.
Pew pew! Give me
Turn it to a giant mood real quick.
As you aim your shots at this thing, again, it's writhing and twisting in this light, just unbearable pain, it seems like. But with you being closer and having a better time to aim your shots, both strikes will connect.
No hex, so just 20 damage.
Just 20 damage. Is how you want to kill this thing.
Yeah, it's like going to reach back through Persephone's shield or trying to peel over the top of it, and then just this beam just bores through it, and it just seems to collapse it around the beam, and then it just fades away. As I guess the black ichor floats back towards the maelstrom.
You see it begin to rise and form, but within this basically circle of light, this pillar, you see the shadows rising before they sizzle away.
Persephone, move your beam onto the maelstrom.
And I'm looking at Samantha and I'm nodding really like, yeah! Had the same idea.
Samantha just kind of wheels herself around, conjuring forth, or beginning to conjure forth her magic again, keeping an eye on everything in front and above her.
Let's see, as all around you.
I have a free bonus action. So,
sure.
I'll end my concentration on Hex as I summon back my black snake, and expecting more from this, and needing to be on her best defense. She'll kind of just give herself, just kind of stretch her shoulders and invoke her aspect of the serpent to bump her AC. That's it.
Okay. As all around you, you can hear the bones clattering to the ground, the screams of these creatures sort of fading into the distance as their forms dissipate. All that seems to be remaining are the bones floating above you, those that not everyone can see, and this swirling maelstrom, as there's a moment of quiet before the bones begin to roll, and the shadows, even those that have seemingly been erased, begin to pulse back and pull towards the maelstrom. You see many of these souls just the darkness from this thing pulling itself towards this mass of shadow.
Oh no. No.
And then as they gather, this thing begins to build and roil before as this pulse of blackness reaches out all across this hall. Building, let's see, yeah.
Oh god.
As everyone, give me concentration checks.
I just try to stick my sword in the ground in front of me.
What spell am I concentrating on?
If you aren't, then you're fine. You just feel something you just feel this invasive force rending through your body and pulling at your very life and the magic that guides it.
Feel more ragey!
Yeah, I just rebuke this thing with my own will, as I'm assuming it's a magical effect, right?
Oh, it's magical.
Yeah. So I totally make my save with advantage and get 2 nat 20s, that's how that works.
Give me that roll. Give me that roll. Give me that roll.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
What, do you need a roll for not concentrating?
Oh no! I thought you said okay. You drop concentration. I thought you were holding on to it. I thought you were flavoring holding onto your X. Yeah. As this thing, again, it's a strange invasive force pulling through your body. Thankfully, all of you are managing to hold on to your magic. And from this darkness, you can see something taking shape. As you see bone fragments, still clad in their robes, rising in the mass, pulling themselves back together, but the shadows condense around it. You can see the facsimile of long, writhing, roiling hair surrounding it, all but like a cocoon, a skin of shadow and miasma, as this thing manifests before you, thin like a skeleton, but clad in this strange flesh of darkness. Seemingly at the center of this swirling vortex. As two bright red eyes pierce out from inside. Yes, you're dead. As this thing begins to lurch forward, no legs beneath it, but just this swirling vortex of writhing and screaming.
I shall save you all.
As that is where we will end tonight's session.
Oh, snap.
Oof.
That's a pretty good cliffhanger.
There you go.
Yeah.
Is this what it's like fighting Ivar? Two red eyes piercing at you as fear paralyzes everyone.
Giant swirling darkness.
Giant swirling darkness.
That's why he doesn't take off his armor.
Yep.
Yeah.
All the darkness will get everywhere.
Because then I would just reveal my wreath.
Spill all over the place.
Yeah.
Oh
no, my edge.
There's a bit again for you wear.
Oh no, my edge, it's leaking out now that I don't have my armor contain it.
The armor that limits my strength. Oh my goodness. Thank you all so much for being a part of this wonderful session. Thank you, Peter, for popping on in, for joining back up, grabbing the reins. Hope you had a good time. Hope you all had a good time with us tonight as we take on every horrifying thing behind every barricaded door. I'm sure this is only the beginning. Well, that's all she wrote for Song of Rapture. We will be back this Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern for more of The Expanse and all of the wonderful things going on there. As you can catch the second half of an amazing battle against the forces of devils and just bad things, just awful, awful things. It's Ivar betrays the party! Oh, that's totally what happened. He betrayed us all, and he's flying off with Laura so they can go live happily ever after as they conquer the world. I don't know, maybe that's what happened. Watch the VOD.
Yep.
It was pretty crazy.
Hey, we're talking about it, you're thinking about it.
I got to destroy half a mountain. At least that's the way that I talked about it on Twitter, and it was great. I loved it. Don't pay any attention to the three dudes that stumbled out of it. They died too. Everyone just died instantly. It was amazing.
They died of radiation poisoning, a couple days later. It's fine.
No, they're horribly sunburned.
Yeah, they're gonna die of infection. Because that's how that works. So they're all dead.
Yeah, just skin cancer.
They peeled literally all of their flesh off their body.
So be sure to tune in for The Expanse, and then guess what? We're back. We're back at it. Back at it again, y'all. 22nd, Tuesday, Kingdoms of the South. Get to see some Milo action. Get to see some Virgil. Get to see some Lucas and some Katie. And
play
of course,
Golden Boy
you
again.
can never, ever, ever forget Sovelis, along with Mr. Solomon. He'll also be there, so get a little double dose of Ryan. I know you guys have been missing him and his crazy jokes. I know I have. So we'll see him this Tuesday as John comes back from Ireland for some Kingdoms of the South. Stay posted both here and on Twitter for any changes or updates as things, could happen or could change, but I'll be sure to let you guys know as soon as possible if anything happens. But we'll be back Tuesday and we'll be back Friday to find out what happens as we confront, does this thing have a name? The miasma? The maelstrom?
It's a little strange.
Race.
No, that's not it. That's not what I said. A creature. It does seem like a strange creature that speaks of fear, one who perhaps himself may have succumbed. So we'll call it the soul that succumbed to fear.
as we confront the soul that succumbed to fear. This
Calling the
coming
souls
Friday.
Hellkale.
Friday 25th at 7:30
Oh, I lost
p.m.
him.
Oh god, he's gonna go kill the
Just
little
kidding,
coward,
back.
man. Oh, he's back. Okay, good. Oh, we're safe. Oh wait, we're not safe. He's safe.
Is it Friday or is it Thursday?
It's Thursday. Thank you.
Thursday.
Yeah, that's right. So
Thursday.
you can ask yourself, is it Thursday?
No, don't ask yourself that.
No,
Don't ask yourself that.
no, we can't. No.
No, you can just ask yourself, is
Is it the day after Wednesday yet? Do that. Do that one.
As you can tune in for Song of Rapture at 7:30. Thank you all so much for watching. Thanks for being a part of this. Thank you, Total Party Chill, for subbing. Thank you, KJ TMC for following, and Nate Tostel, and 009, Bell Beanie and Hole, Wave Sip, Crafty Zabroy, Keaton Okai, Sama 7K. Jesus, that is a weeby name. I love you. Thank you for following. Richmond 971891. Thank you for following. And Total Party Chill, thank you for the host as well.
Your timeout is not recognized, Brandon.
What are you timing out for?
You're not doing your due diligence, Jordan.
What?
Plug.
There's a thing that
Advertise. Make the money.
consume, obey.
And a shout out, as always, to our wonderful sponsors, Art Sand Coffee, who enable all of this craziness to happen with their caffeine-infused death that courses through our veins, so that we have the energy to deal with everything that we deal with this. So I'll post a link to them in the chat. I want to thank you all so much for hanging out with us as I try to figure out why the bot isn't.
Zazu is down for maintenance. It's not his day.
That's why. Okay. Yeah!
Get you some anime coffee.
Delicious, tasty, flavored anime coffee, like cookies and cream and maple bacon. And oh my god, my voice is dying. I can't do it. I'm sorry.
Can I get pantsu flavored coffee though?
It's not that weeby. It's just weeby art. Leave it alone.
But if I request it, can I have it?
Closeted
No,
weeb.
Lisa.
If I petition for it,
Jordan.
if I make a Kickstarter big and loud enough, can I have it?
I'm sure that you can buy. I'm not even going to get into that. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed another wonderful game from Lionhead Gaming. It's been my pleasure to stream it for you and to play it, and I think it has been everyone else's as well. As always, thank you, and may your dice roll 20s and you always make your saves.